Increase generation now.
Hello everybody. Hello chat. We will we'll be starting here very soon. Is my level, are my levels good? My levels look pretty good. They look a little low. What's going on there?
I'm a level 30 warrior.
Excuse me.
This is good enough. Okay. Mike, talk.
Mike Minotti's talking. This is me talking.
This is the mic check.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the mic check.
Maybe a little bit. Okay. All right. Whatever.
That's what we call.
All right. We are we're gonna get started here in just a minute. We got everything kind of in place, ready to go. If you're watching live, hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate it.
Are we missing the biggest news story of the week here? Wow.
Yeah, possibly.
Nothing here about the Kirby demo. Wow, number one.
It's not Canoe's fault. Canoe will put it in there, and I was just like, I figured we would just play it beforehand and talk about it, but I actually am only still just downloading it. So
wow,
play it live on the podcast.
Yeah, I can
live reactions.
Yeah, that's all right.
Plug it in. Let's see here.
Our podcast is already long enough.
1 minute audios. Sorry, I need to bend. I hate these people that send you a message. Why you just write down the message? Why do you have to make it?
Voice messages are weird. Yeah, I agree.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I think we're ready. Christian, thank you for your help. We're gonna get started.
You're welcome.
All right, so there's that.
I'm still mad.
Oh man, I haven't played this Kirby demo. It looks so enticing. Okay, Mike, are you good? You ready?
Wow. Are we running? How am I sounding? So far, so good. I got green bars. Seems to be okay. Let's see those hairy faces.
Hey, if it breaks, it breaks. We got Skype as a backup. Okay.
Oh God.
All right, everybody.
I ate one of my first real meals all week, so let's see how I feel.
Okay. All right. Well, we're pulling for you.
So far, so good.
Okay. All right, here we go, everybody.
Though. I'll let you know.
Hey, you let me know. You let me know if you need a mic break.
Probably just asked how I feel like. Better. I'm feeling better, but
where's chat? There's that. Okay, I got chat. I could see you all now.
Fancy shirt. This is my fancy Three Caballeros shirt that I got in some kind of a Disney.
Very nice. Here's my Weeby Samus shirt. There we go.
There you go.
All right, everybody.
There's that Iron Maiden Samus shirts that I've seen other people wear. And at this point, I've seen too many other people wear it, but I like Metroid and I like Iron Maiden a lot, so it feels weird to me that I don't have that shirt. So,
all right, everybody, do the prayer for Discord. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3. The internet, you're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything happening in the world of video games, so you never have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. With me is
Mike Minotti.
In today's episode, news, games.
What?
Mike Minotti, how are you doing?
Better. It was a rough week for a bit there. I think on Tuesday, people could probably tell it was still a little rough. Monday was real bad. But the thing about being sick is that when you're even like 50% better, it's like that giant relief. You're just so happy that you don't feel as bad as you did that one time. So
yes.
I've got my mojo back.
We're both falling apart here. I had my nose infection this week, which I believe that this was probably me wearing a mask I wore before and getting a staph infection from my own nose, giving it back to my nose. So that's like a fun thought.
Wow, they were right all along. Masks are bad.
Masks are evil. Wow. So I'm like, I should probably just be wearing, have a stack of really fresh masks ready to go from now on. But yeah, that was really bad. The last 2 nights, it got really bad in the evening. I think it's just kind of like doing stuff causes like the blood to rush to the nose or something, and it got really all inflamed. And now it's much better. It's feeling pretty good today. So I think the antibiotics I got are kicking in. So we're both on the upswing.
That's right.
So is the video game industry. We'll get into all of that here in a second. First, though, I want to thank you for joining us. Get more from Mike and me at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast at gamespluspodcast@venturebeat.com. You can also get us on Twitter at GamesBeat. Thank you to Carlos Ayin, who's Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme songs. If you are listening to this on the website player widget, You can subscribe to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button right now, live, right now. If you hit it right now, it'll help people find the show. We really appreciate it. And if you like the show and you're listening on one of those podcast platforms, rate the show there. That also helps people find the show, or tell a friend.
Jeff, you know what the big turning around? Hey, you weren't done, were you?
No, I wasn't
done.
More to say. Yeah, join the Discord, discord.gg/GameS, and the Patreon, patreon.com/GameS. That gets you into the private channels inside the Discord. What was so important that you had to interrupt me?
You know what the turning point was for the whole week? It was that glorious Kirby demo, damn it. That was the universe. That's like that meme with Hulk giving Ant-Man that taco. Yeah. That's what I felt. that was just me having a week. Good. And all of a sudden, Nintendo flipping it through the bars of Nintendo jail. We didn't get to do the early, like some outlets got that demo early. We didn't get that, but whatever. I was just glad I was able to play a few levels of the new Kirby game.
So you play, I just downloaded it. I got it here. I'm looking at it. It looks great on the OLED. Jesus, it looks good. Is it fun?
It's super fun. It's great. It is 3D Kirby. Right. It is a perfect translation of that. More so than like even like we said this before, like Mario, when it went 3D, they kind of had to change a lot of things, you know? Like 3D Mario is still very different from 2D Mario, and there are some games like 3D World that sort of kind of balance it a bit better. But this is just straight up like, oh, this is a Kirby game in 3D, and it's super fun, and it's just kind of super. It's like all those fun little surprises, and it kind of has that formula of like the 3D worlds. Like it's more in line of like a Super Mario 3D World or a Sackboy Adventure, even an Astro Bot, in terms of having those singular levels. And it's like to get to the objective, but there are these things hidden around here, and it's a lot of fun finding those. And it just all the I forget what they call, but like those super suck ability things where you become a car or you become a cone.
Mouthful mode.
Good. No, maybe I don't know, but man, is it good? God,
well,
it's fun.
Mouthful mode is definitely a thing in Kirby. But I don't know if that's exactly
Mouthful mode. I think Mouthful mode was a Planet Robobot or Triple Deluxe thing. Now that I think about it, this
Mouthful mode is also definitely in this, and it's what they call it when you suck a car into your mouth. Is Kirby.
Okay, well then I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I just listen. We're gonna put some respect on Mouthful mode's name, all right, on this podcast.
We could have just moved on, but you had to just dig it in there. Too. Look, I'm
very reverent towards two things.
What the fuck it was called when Kirby eats a car? All right, you want to take away my Kirby fan badge now? Has everything I ever said about Kirby been invalidated now forever? Yes. Fuck you! You haven't even played the demo. You shut the hell up! I tell you how great it is.
50 times. God, I hate you.
Delete it.
I'm reverent to two things: Mouthful mode and Daisy and Mario Strikers. Those are the two things. Okay. We got a bunch of news. Mike, should we get to it?
Okay.
Publishers are stopping the sales of games in Russia and Belarus. That was a transition, and I just had to jump into it, Mike. This is a
yeah, what a transition.
I mean, what could I have done there? What could I have done?
What else is a mouthful? All right.
Okay, everybody, we're sorry. Listen, hey, I'll say that we have a propensity to make jokes about things. One thing we won't like joke around too much about is like, we have to pay higher gas prices because people are in a war somewhere else. Like, we're not going to complain about our lives because other people are actually in a real war, but we might still try to find some lighthearted sides of these things.
No,
if that offends you, we're not doing it because we're trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. We are just these are difficult times, and you know, we've had world events that feel like they've been crushing us for our entire generation. This is just the thing that we've built up, like, to deal with these things. So, not trying to offend anybody. I hope we didn't. But I'll say that I think this is probably a sign of a greater sort of rising tide of people wanting to find ways to show that they support the Ukrainian people and that they are in no way supporting Russia and Belarus and then also the people in Russia and Belarus. It's not like a lot of the money that you get from selling games in Russia would somehow support the Russian oligarchy that was behind this invasion of Ukraine. And yet these companies like EA and Microsoft, I think you wrote the story this morning about Microsoft, right?
Right. Microsoft is suspending sales and services in Russia. I don't know what they're doing with Belarus. And EA came out like an hour or two ago and said Russia and Belarus, they are stopping.
Yep. So, and this is mostly, I think it's people don't want to look like they are taking money from Russia. And this is like, there are a lot of sanctions. I think this is people getting ahead of sanctions, not really, EA and Microsoft are not sanctioned from selling their video games in Russia by the U.S. government and the international community. But they are like, they want to show that they are standing alongside and support that stuff. And it makes sense. Russia is sort of an emerging economy when it comes to engaging with traditional video game business. They're part of that brick block, which is like Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And while China has turned into this huge thing, and so is even like Brazil in terms of like esports and stuff, Russia still kind of has its mostly we're going to pirate games and not really buy a lot of games. So it's like not going to hurt these companies too much to be like, hey, we just don't want any rubles. And frankly, that might be the other side of this. The ruble is worth nothing right now. And it's trying to deal in that currency in that country. Probably not worth the headache. So why not just go out, do this show of support for Ukraine, and at the same time, pull out of a market that is going to just be volatile and not worth your time. There's two sides of this, I think, and that's the other side of it. Mike, you did write down Kirby demo, but we covered that, huh? So anything else to say about it? Like, I think I'm going to pre-order it.
I mean, I'm also ready to talk about, I guess, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't drag us back into the whole Russia thing. Maybe we should. No, you can. No, for sure. I was just like, I figured I couldn't tell if you wanted to jump in. So if you have something to say, please. Well, I don't know. That whole thing is complicated. And I know I see like, the side of people like, oh, we're just punishing the, civilians by blocking things like this, like entertainment and whatnot. But I don't know. I envy the people who seem so sure of their positions on some of this stuff, right? Yes, like it's like agreed. Right. It's like we're like there has we have to sanction everything. We have to completely cut them off from the rest of the world, and then they'll learn their lesson. There's people like this is only just hurting the civilians, and it doesn't care. And in fact, it just makes them hate the West more. And I don't know. I want there to be consequences for things. I don't want regular people to be hurt either. I just want people to stop hurting each other, Jeff, and I don't know what it takes. Yeah. I just don't know what it takes.
Yeah, it's wild, and yeah, it's the kind of thing where a couple weeks ago we knew this was coming. We knew that this right. war was coming. Everyone was like very clear, and like apparently in the intelligence community in the West was like, this is going to happen. Just get ready for it. And when those talks were happening, a lot of the stuff was like, hey, we'll find some sanctions that just hurt these oligarchs, just hurt these specific people. People in Putin's circle, it's just going to hurt them. And since then, it is really ramped up to be like, no, we're going all out. And the support for sort of all out sanctions and all out economic warfare on everyone in Russia is ramped up rapidly. And I think that is something that I'm pretty sure Russia was not predicting this. Not that I'm an expert on this at all.
Sure.
But it's like I'm pretty sure they were not predicting that it would go. That these countries were going to go this hard, and there would be so much support across the globe to like sort of cut off Russia. And to me, it seems like the kind of thing where it's like, okay, obviously Russia's going to be in a bad place after this war, whether they get Ukraine or not. And again, no experts, so no idea what's going to happen there. It feels like right. It's kind of inevitable. But even if they install a puppet government in Ukraine, when they come back, their economy is going to be in shambles. The support, I think, for that government, because the people seem to be seeing through this one like they haven't seen through. There was really good propaganda campaign for the Crimea annexation, and it seems like people aren't buying it this time in Russia. And again,
I also assume there's a younger generation in Russia now who doesn't have to get their information from the state-controlled media propaganda machine, right? Like they can just go to the internet, and I'm sure their internet is still a lot less free than ours, but I'm sure stuff gets out there. Again, this is the guy in the Donald Duck shirt with the Arby's hat in the background trying to talk about geopolitical stuff with Russia and Ukraine. Like, I'm just trying my best, everyone, but it's a mess.
Yeah, we'll keep following up on this. I think this is probably not the last we're going to hear of like video gaming's relationships to.
Sony's got to follow soon, probably now, huh?
I almost certainly. Most of these companies are in countries that are sort of part of this global economic system that doesn't involve Russia so much and isn't so much part of, like, if it was like a Chinese gaming company, they would probably keep doing business in Russia. But like a Japanese company and that has its headquarters in Europe and the United States, yeah, they're probably going to end up cutting them off. I'll say that if you want more information about what it's like to be a game developer in that country, Rachel Kaiser wrote a story talking to a bunch of developers. So give that a look-see. We have that on our site, GamesBeat.com. Okay.
No great way to transition back into video games. But here we go.
Yeah, we're just gonna do it. Elden Ring is a big, major blockbuster, kind of a stature that I don't think anyone could have really predicted. As big as everyone knew it was going to be, it seems even bigger than that. And a good example, some good hard concrete sort of perspective on that is its UK sales. UK has a pretty good tracking firm in that country, and they found that Elden Ring sold 2.5 times what Horizon 2 sold on its opening week, just the week prior. They also said it is the biggest non-FIFA and non-Call of Duty game to have a launch since Red Dead Redemption 2. So that, I mean, these are, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a huge smash hit.
That's the interesting comparison point. Like, Horizon is iffy because it's an exclusive.
Exactly.
Redemption 2 is a game that has sold for over 40 million copies now.
Yes, so I think Elden Ring just had the benefit of everything sort of going for it, where all of this hype, all of this momentum, all of the memes, and then it comes out and it gets near perfect scores, one of the highest rated games on Metacritic. It seemed destined at that point to do really well. Even then, this seems to be doing better than what I was expecting. It just seems to be the game of the moment.
I feel so smart when you had that poll forever ago asking what would be the best-selling game of
yes.
Was it February or March, and I said Elden Ring.
Yeah. I think
I'm gonna make it.
I think that seems inevitable at this point. I mean, at this point, there's almost no doubt, because it's definitely not going to be Pokemon with only its physical numbers and not any digital. So,
apparently, it already sold 5 million on Steam. I thought I saw that number float around.
I mean,
somewhere.
it's got to like, to have like 1 million concurrents, you have to be in that around that range. Like, that is just astronomical stuff. So yeah, Elden Ring is a major hit, I guess. What do you think happens next with From?
That's what I've been thinking about that a lot, Jeff. Because you sure have to imagine they want to make an Elden Ring too, huh?
Yeah, huh? I mean, their next game's going to be even bigger, sort of, no matter what.
Right. So, I mean, after the pre-production people were done with Elden Ring, I imagine they moved on to whatever the next project is, and maybe right then they didn't immediately be like, well, it has to be Elden Ring too, right? So. There's that old Armored Core. Everyone's like, oh, bring back Armored Core at one point. And I know you said before, like, maybe that's something they'll go back to. Maybe.
It sounds like it's what they're doing, according to some reporting. Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's a smaller project, and they can do that, and then right after that, get back to Elden Ring 2. So maybe that's the trajectory here. I feel like it's definitely going to be Elden Ring 2 before like a Bloodborne 2 or Sekiro 2, right? Or even like another Souls-like thing.
Yes, I mean, I think, yes. Clearly, as soon as they're done here, you're right. They're going to start working on Elden Ring 2 in some capacity. It seems inevitable. I mean, Bandai Namco is going to be like, hey, whatever you need, the budget that you need to make that happen, we'll be right there to support you. Do you want better terms? Like whatever to make that happen. I think they'll be very much wanting to make that happen as soon as possible. So, but they might also have the freedom to expand and start working on other stuff. I mean, this is a massive one of a few level hit, like in terms of, this puts them alongside Rockstar and alongside just a handful of other developers. Not that that means it could never fall apart or go wrong. I mean, clearly we see eventually Rockstar dissolving a little bit in terms of its key talent, but this they seem to be wanting to keep making these kinds of games. It seems like they will have a blank check to do so going forward. All right, let's keep going with the news. Xbox Game Pass is getting Guardians of the Galaxy and Flight Sim for console. It'll be playable on Xbox One. Guardians of the Galaxy seems like a pretty big get. What do you think?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think there's a lot of people who been hearing really nice things about that game who maybe were still on the fence, especially right now, because there's a lot of like newer games to get. And, that was always a problem Guardians faced, even when it came out, right? Where there are so many games coming out. Did you take a chance of Guardians of the Galaxy, even though you're hearing nice things about it? But it kind of looks weird, and those aren't really the Guardians of the Galaxy. And didn't these people make the Avengers game? It actually wasn't those people, but to you, it may seem like it. So I think this will help get that game a lot more exposure. I think it gives Square Enix a bit more of a safety net's not the word because they already jumped, right? But maybe a bit, yeah, maybe a bit more of a bed to lie in here in terms of kind of recouping some of the costs there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of like the breakout moment for this game, where a lot of people are going to get a chance to play it now that were hesitant, and even though the game was going on sale pretty frequently, I think a lot of people are just like, still got too bad of a taste in my mouth from Avengers, or I just heard so many negative things about that. I don't even want to like try to give this a chance. Now that it's going to be part of the subscription, many people already have. I think a lot of people are going to try it, and a lot of people are going to associate it with Game Pass going forward. So I think this is a pretty good move for Microsoft, and for Square Enix, who knows? I mean, it seems like something they just felt they had to do. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, want to know something interesting about my Audacity settings? I just realized I'm recording locally and not my microphone.
Okay.
So I got a great recording of you right now.
Okay. It's fine. We're going to be fine. This is sometimes this shit happens. If anyone has any recommendations for how to fix, like, because it seems to just be affecting Mike's side of Discord, so if anyone has any recommendations, we'll hear them. We'll give it a shot. Okay.
All right. Now,
Housemarque is working on a new IP, and it's in very, very early stages. This comes from an intrepid young reporter named Dean Takahashi at GamesBeat, who interviewed Housemarque and kind of asked, "Hey, what's going on? What's it like at Sony? That sort of thing. Like, what's next?" And they're like, "Hey, yeah." They basically said, "We're not working on Returnal 2 exactly, but we are in the early days of prototyping a new IP, something new that'll be coming out, quite some time from now." Are you surprised they're not working on Returnal 2? I think you probably have a specific take on this as someone who wasn't a huge fan of that game.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it has nothing to do with my feelings about Returnal. I mean, the game did fine. I don't know if it necessarily warrants, an immediate sequel, maybe someday. But I mean, this could very well be one of the studios working on one of those live service games, right? We know they're working on a ton of those at Sony, and it seems like sure, have Housemarque do one of those.
Yeah, it's also it's Sony acquired the studio probably for their ability to put out games that are different than what they normally make, and very very playable and very fast paced, and something they can get out relatively quickly. I don't know if they're going to want them to take years and years and years to try to make another thing that's like an over the shoulder thing, or even a live service thing. Maybe they will. This seems like the kind of studio that puts gameplay first, and if they get some mentorship from Bungie, maybe they could do that. But I think they're like, hey, if you come out with something that is on the level of Returnal next time, you're gonna have even more buzz. We'll put even more marketing behind it, because you've proven yourself with that game, at least with a pretty massive audience. Even not everyone loved it. A lot of people did. A lot of people, it was like their game of the year. So I think that, and they have Sony's backings, so they have the ability to take some time, figure out what they want to do next, and be able to really execute on that instead of having to panic and immediately get another game out. So. I'll be interested to see what they end up doing. Not too surprised it's not Returnal 2 though. Although I also wouldn't be surprised if they swing back around at some point, and by the end of this generation we do get another Returnal.
Sure, at some point, right?
Yeah. So there was an NVIDIA leak as part of a hack, part of a ransomware attack on NVIDIA. They got the source code for DLSS, which is deep learning super sampling, and in that source code, these ransomware attackers found some data that referred to something called NVN2, which is a graphics API that people believe is a reference to the Switch 2, or maybe a Switch Pro, but basically the successor to the Nintendo Switch.
2.
Yes, so the Nintendo's original graphics API for the Switch is NVN within NVIDIA's code. And NVN2 hasn't shown up before this. This isn't like, oh, it's an update to the Switch API. It's like, no, this is the successor API. That is not too surprising, right? Of course, they're working on a successor to the Switch, and of course, it's going to be with NVIDIA. They have a 20-year agreement with NVIDIA that started 5 years ago now, so we're still 15 years before that's really going to let up anytime soon. This is their plan going forward, and no big surprise that they found it in DLSS. That is definitely going to be one of the core technologies powering the Switch 2. What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, exactly. Of course, it's still exciting to start seeing actual real world evidence of the next Switch, right? And that stuff's going to start happening more and more as we sort of get closer to when we imagine it'll come out, 2024, right?
Right. Yes, 2024 seems to be the range that this begins to make sense where, they have a lot of stuff going for them with the Switch. They're taking their time, and also that gives them a lot of time to get on the other side of the supply chain shortage to make sure things are really well sorted out there, and to give NVIDIA time to really ensure that the next system on a chip that they designed for Nintendo is future-proof and is able to last for a really long time, and is significantly more powerful than the Switch and really blows people away. Seems like it really should, based on kind of the word coming out of this leak, which is like, oh, it's a cut-down version of Ampere hardware, the same stuff that like a 3080 runs on, just cut down for the mobile version. And that's impressive stuff, and that means it really should be able to handle ray tracing, especially if DLSS is implemented in both handheld and docked modes. So it's pretty exciting. Epic Games acquired Bandcamp. Mike, this was one where I'm like, I don't even understand anymore. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like everything we're saying about like why people would acquire other people still is viable here, right? Like use your money now before inflation gets even worse. Why not? Bandcamp is a weird one. It's like they're just buying like things that are services on top of their services, even though they don't necessarily go together. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently this is a part of Epic's efforts to expand its diversify its approach to media. So we think about it as Epic Games, right? We think about it as the Fortnite company. The company makes Unreal, enables other people to make games, but we've already seen that they've expanded what that means. Unreal is being used frequently now by Disney in its volume sound stages to create television shows, like not just The Mandalorian. They're using it all over the place now. It's going to be sort of a standard for how movies and television get made here pretty soon. And so like they're slowly moving into film and television. And I think they're like, okay, and now we have all this money. What are some other ways we could diversify? This is part of that. Now, Bandcamp, for people who don't know, is a service where bands of any size can put their music out there, and you could just go and buy their music from them. It's a music purchasing service, and it's apparently much more friendly to creators than iTunes and stuff like that. I mean, obviously it would be, but yeah, that seems to be the case. Epic has not necessarily stated like what their intent is to do with it, like if they're going to change anything. It seems like they're trying to be like, oh, things are going to operate as normal, but companies always say that. We'll see what happens. What does this mean for the games side of Epic Games? I don't know. People are speculating. Yeah, it's probably nothing, right?
Right.
Maybe it's like, okay, they put terms, like they put a checkbox inside of Bandcamp. It's like, if you check this box, you agree to let us sell your songs in a new version of Rock Band. Maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I don't understand.
Right, yeah, that's right. They have Harmonix.
Yeah.
I don't understand either. Yeah. It's hard. It's certainly not. It has been. I don't think anyone's like, "Wow, that's exciting," right? Like we kind of like sometimes like people get made fun of for being excited that Activision Blizzard got acquired, right? Like,
right.
It's kind of like a weird thing to cheerleader, and I understand that. I also understand why sometimes we do get excited. This one, just nothing to get excited about.
All right. Nobody wants to work with David Cage, and Star Wars Eclipse is probably not coming out till 2027, 2028. This comes from our buddy Tom Henderson, I think, originally is the first person to post this. When he did that, I checked in on it, and as far as I could tell, what Tom said is accurate. The problem is exactly what we've been saying. The problem is going to be for all these developers that have had their toxic workplace exposed. It's very hard to attract talent in an environment where it's already super hard to attract talent, even if you're a good place to work. So that seems to be the specific problem here. No one wants to work with David Cage, and so they are not going to be able to get this game out until 2027. Mike, what? I have some input on this, but I think I'm going to keep looking because I'm not exactly sure, and I'll probably have some stuff next week to talk about here.
Some stuff next week for Grubb Snacks is what you're saying.
Hey, that's a good idea, Mike. I should save it for Grubb Snacks. You're so smart.
Wow. Oh my God.
What do you think? I mean, 2027. What do you think about that year?
I don't like that year. That's the year I turned 40. We're not allowed to talk about. Right? Like, look, I'm not upset that I'm going to be 40 someday. I don't mind aging. It's fine. I'm not ready to already start talking about video games that are coming out when I am 40 years old.
I remember being like, God, when did the GameCube come out? 2001?
Yes, sir.
I remember being in high school and being like, oh man, the GameCube's going to come out. That's the last time I'm going to be in like high school or like, school. And that's going to be the last Nintendo game to come out when I'm just a kid. And that's it. After that, it's going to be like whatever they release after that. I'm just going to keep getting older and older. And I remember like feeling weird about that. This is like 2027. I'm not even going to do the math on it. I'll be like, what? I'll be very old. 44. I'll be, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The one thing that makes me feel better is that there's the chance that this game maybe just never comes out, so I don't have to worry about it.
So, yeah, that's possible. And I'll just say the one side I heard about that is if that happens, it's kind of no skin off of, I was going to say off of Disney's teeth, but that's not the idiom. No skin off their back.
You should know it's nose, Mr. Clown Nose over there. Right?
No skin off their nose. Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think it's skin off. Yeah, no skin off my nose. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Now
yeah,
I'm doubting it. That must be right, but now it doesn't sound right as I say it.
It's no fork in my oven. Is what I'm trying to say. It's the Disney's just like, yeah, we'll hear your pitch, and if you think you can do this, go ahead. I mean, you're the ones kind of have to pay for this. So,
who paid for that CG trailer that they had?
So, I mean, that was I think it was mostly what's the name of the studio now? David Cage's Quantic Dream. I think that was mostly Quantic Dream pushing for that. Now, Lucasfilm has to approve of everything. Like, they are very notorious for having to oversee everything involving Star Wars storytelling of any stripe. But Quantic Dream's like, let's get this out here so we can start getting people excited, so we can get people coming to work on our game. And I think it took some convincing of Lucasfilm to let that happen, basically. But
so, a couple things here, Jeff. First off, apparently it is no skin off my back, and as I say it, that is absolutely right. So apologies. Enjoy it, but I will say
I feel like no skin off my nose. Someone said that too, though. I feel like I've heard that before. I don't know.
There's something else with nose. There's so many nose idioms that we're probably getting crossed here. Second thing, like we talked about this before, how people are like making recruitment drives instead of game announcements, and that's almost like in retrospect, that's what that trailer was. It was a wow, doesn't this look cool? Keep that in mind when you look at that Quantic Dream filing. Don't think about all that weird stuff you heard about us. Think about that cool Star Wars game.
Right. When you Google Quantic Dream jobs, what's going to come up? They're working on Star Wars, not that they had like racist and sexist environment for years and years. Yeah.
I mean, and not that incredible meme of like that white robot lady quoting Martin Luther
right. Oh my God.
Right. With that guy like giving the greatest face ever.
Honestly, all that stuff, if none of that stuff happened, I still wouldn't want to work there just because David Cage is like, the difference between Detroit and Blade Runner is that in Detroit, you're supposed to root for the androids. The androids are the good guys. He
seem smart. He seems like a dummy.
Oh, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I just think that this is Disney mostly being like, hey, well, yeah, if you think you could like
try it.
Disney really wants one of these kinds of games, not like a narrative thing like Quantic Dream's done before, but what they say this is going to be a big action adventure game. They want a lot of those. They want something like a
Fallen Orders, I guess.
Yeah, and they want like what Ubisoft does as well, and that's why Ubisoft is making a Star Wars game. So they want that stuff. Anyone that says they could deliver it, they're sort of gonna be like, okay, yeah, do it, and we'll see what happens. All right. Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7. I believe these the remakes of each one, right? Are getting.
Well, 7 is a new game, but sure.
Right, 2 and right. That's what I mean. Yes, the remakes of 2 and 3, and then 7 are getting Xbox Series and PS5 enhancements later this year. There was already obviously the native versions of Resident Evil Village that have already come out. So now they're going back and giving that same treatment to these games that have come out recently, and those are all really good games. And Resident Evil 2 is an exceptional game, I think. I think a lot of people like 7 a lot too, but Resident Evil 2 is an exceptional game.
Yeah, 7's a different vibe. 2 is probably the best Resident Evil game, remake that we've gotten in a long time. And it was already probably like one of the best looking games on last gen, so that it's exciting just to see what that'll look like.
Yeah, and of course this is going to cost you a whole lot. Just joking, it's free. It's free to everybody who already owns the game, and this is true also for people on PC. Like PC players are going to get an update as well. Steam Deck.
I bet there's a lot of people who maybe for some reason only put like one of the stories in Resident Evil 2, like they did Leon and not Claire.
Very good point.
Or something like that. Now it's like, oh, all right, well now I could try the other character. This is gonna be great.
Andy said in chat that he liked 3 the most, and I'm sorry, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I have heard some people be like, I don't understand why people don't like 3 as much. I haven't played it. But I'm kind of pushed away because of the divisiveness. I mean,
the Turbo says it was rushed, and it feels rushed. That's what it feels like. It's not as well considered when you're playing it.
Sure, but I always thought even like the original Resident Evil 3 was never supposed to, like, as good as 2,
That's
right?
So, also true. That's also
true.
So
there we go. Here we are.
Steam Deck, of which I've put up a lot of coverage this week, trying to answer the big questions. The last one I'm going to try to do today is the big battery test. I tried to do it last night, but the Steam Deck went to sleep, even though I had something on the stick. And also, it would only charge to 91% because I think it was trying to save the battery life for me or something. So I'll test it again today. But the thing's out. People are starting to get it in their hands. Gabe Newell is personally delivering it to people in the Seattle area.
Gabe Newell, big Final Fantasy 14 fan.
Big,
on Steam Deck,
big weeb in the Final Fantasy 14 scene.
So
Gabe Newell.
Turns out Gabe Newell's a good person again. Is what I'm trying to say. Actually, it's okay to bring back your Gaben memes. It's all good now. We like him now.
Yeah, that's all it took. It's just a little Final Fantasy. Just mentioning Final Fantasy. Although the way he mentioned it, he's mentioned it a couple times, but one of the ways he mentioned it was people are asking about the metaverse, and he's like, you know, you go play Final Fantasy 14, and people are like getting all dressed up and how all their characters and are living in this space, and it's like, do people in the metaverse thing like think they're just inventing something that Final Fantasy 14's been doing for 10 years? And it's yeah, dunk on them, Gabe. Yes, this is great. And yeah, it's kind of hard not to cheer that on.
Right, it is a reminder of like, oh yeah, we did. Gabe was like a straight shooter, and sometimes the things he said make sense, and then sometimes he's just kind of weird and reclusive and like doesn't make anything for a while, and then we resent him more. But hey, now we're on a high swing. Yay.
We're at high tide with Gabe Newell.
Yeah, we're good.
And really we should be, because the Steam Deck is fantastic, except for, oh no, it has stick drift. Everybody panic. Everybody panic. Stick drift.
I was like bedridden that day, and like our mods were like, make sure you don't talk about stick drift in the podcast because it's not actually an issue. I was like, what are you talking? What? There's stick drift? Like, no, there isn't actually. It's like, okay.
Yep. So that it was apparently, I think, you know, let's be careful here, because Valve says they fixed it with a software update, and I believe them. But also, it's the kind of thing where it's like they fixed one side of it, and maybe there is still some hardware stuff there. We don't know. But I think the point is, we don't know. It's very early days. Like, is this going to be a common issue? But the point is that they put out an update later that same day after a bunch of videos got posted to Reddit saying, oh my God, I already have stick drift. And people were showing like they would hold the stick down and then they'd let it go back to center. And then like the x-axis would still be like, oh, negative 1 million or something like that. And it looked like bad drift. Valve said that it was an issue with dead zone, like something with a dead zone, and they updated it in a firmware, and no one's said anything since, so it does seem like it has fixed the problem. And that's, you know, I think, you know, that is what it is. You know, the bugs at launch, this thing came in hot. It came in hot, just like all hardware has been coming in pretty hot recently. This one may be a little bit hotter than some others in terms of like, oh, is it ready for prime time? But you know, they put the fix out there really quickly. The bigger takeaway for me is, people are just ready to jump on the FOMO, and then they're also immediately ready to jump on the FUD, where it's like, oh man, I can't wait to get this thing. And then a couple of people say, oh, I have a problem with the hardware, and now it's like, oh my God, fear, uncertainty, doubt. I think just if you are in that like swinging back and forth between those two states, don't spend your money. Actually, just wait for a little bit. Let things like suss out. And you know, if you have your mine. Yeah. But I mean, also, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be just fine. Just based on my experience, it seems like it's going to be fine. So, yeah, it was nice to see Valve address that issue so quickly. Forza Horizon 5 is getting sign language support on March 1st. You know, that was a couple days ago. People have been testing this, but basically, if you are someone who speaks in American Sign Language, you can get a little box of someone communicating to you in American Sign Language, just like you see on TV and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. This is something I haven't seen in a game before.
Yeah, not to my memory. Of course, it's not exactly an option I'm looking for, but that's great. I hope we get it in more games.
Yes, agreed. And any stuff like that is always welcome. Let's get through some of these other things. Microsoft has sold over 2.3 million Xboxes in Japan in the last 20 years. So it's like, okay, not great, but apparently it is getting better. They
say that number again.
2.3 million Xboxes in Japan
in the last 20 years.
In the last 20 years, yes.
That doesn't seem like a great rate.
No, it doesn't. It does not. Well, that's like 100,000 per year. That is not too surprising. Although the rate has increased, I guess, significantly considering how low it was. recently, and Microsoft's begun dedicating some resources to Xbox in Japan, and they opened some sort of office in Japan for Xbox just this past week or something like that. So hey, they've not given up on it yet. Twisted Metal TV series. We've talked about this one before. We reported that this is coming alongside a game. That TV show is going to be on Peacock, which I subscribe to. I did subscribe to for wrestling, and not even new wrestling. Just I want to have like the old WCW, so I have that because
that's the thing to be watching. So that makes sense. I use Peacock to watch Columbo. So
yes, me too. Yes, exactly. So I have it. I guess when this appears on there, I'm lying. I'm not going to watch this. I don't care.
No.
I don't care.
How much of a Peacemaker clone is that going to be now?
Oh, very good. You're right. That is they're just going to do Peacemaker. They're probably going to bring in. I don't know. Who do you bring in to try to do James Gunn?
Right, so you can't bring in James Gunn.
It's going to be Robert Rodriguez or something like
that. Maybe they can bring in a disgraced Josh Whedon now.
Oh man, cheap. that would be bad. But yeah, maybe. Though I can punch it up.
Also kind of funny.
Yeah, kind of funny. I have just no interest in this show. Anthony Mackie's going to star in it apparently though, so good for him. I made this. What's that?
Let his face be the showrunner. The weird guy who made the game.
Oh yeah, David Jaffe. Let him make a TV show.
He could do it. What did he did that really weird thing recently where he's talking about, I forget, murdering.
If you could get a platinum for murdering minorities in a nightclub, like would you do it?
Right. Yeah, let that guy run a TV show. Let's see how that goes.
I mean, Mike, you just got plenty of great ideas, and this is definitely one of them.
I got lots of good ideas, Jeff. I tell you what, no one listens to me around here.
PS4. Okay, I got to read this correctly. Let's see here. There's been a lot of edits to this one. PS4 and Steam versions of Persona 4 Arena will be getting rollback netcode in summer, and local fighting game nerds / Turbo Sean are ecstatic. Okay, all right. Well, I guess that's good to know.
Yeah, this is the thing that makes online fighting games much better. Not coming to a Switch version, which I tell you what, like for me, that's like, well, I guess I'm not getting this on Switch actually. Then I mean, even though I know I'm not gonna play online very much, it's like, well, all right. I mean, everyone loves that thing so much, I may as well just get it on PlayStation. So, but yeah, it's good to know, and it seems like an indicator, even something like this, right? Like a remaster of a slight, not like obscure, but not exactly the most popular fighting game in the world, is getting that rollback netcode. It seems like we're kind of accepting that this is going to have to be a standard going forward.
Yes, I mean, in a world where a pandemic could break out again at any moment, a new one, not even the one that we're still in.
Sure.
It's like, okay, yeah, you want to make sure your online's pretty good. Like that's a pretty good hedge against future uncertainty. Is rollback netcode? Does that literally mean that when the game becomes out of sync, it just rewinds and then you pick up from where it left off?
No. No. That would be incredible. You think that's what the fighting game fans are happy about?
I would not think they would like that. No, that sounds terrible.
This will shock you. I don't quite understand it, but I just know it's smooth.
Christian says yes, it rewinds time. Turboshan, yes, that's literally what it means, Jeff. Mike, it's what the fighting game fans want.
I think they're either lying to you or I'm very confused because that sounds terrible.
I think they just like. They prefer that. They prefer that than to the network trying to guess what's going to happen. No, I think that's really what it is.
It's kind of like that. I mean, I think there's rolling back. I don't know.
Okay, we should just play a game with rollback netcode.
Well, this summer I'll play Persona. Man, I want to play Jeff in that Persona game. I'll tell you what, I could beat him at that. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Okay, Google, what is rollback netcode? Everyone's Googling off. Okay. Pokemon news. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet got announced. Violet
got
announced.
Right, Jeff. Apparently, I'm sorry. I'm still caught in this. Apparently, yes. It's just if the game falls out of sync, it just literally rewinds. Okay.
Yeah, cool. I mean, weird, but I mean, if that's, I guess it makes sense.
I guess it makes sense. I guess I would have to play that because it sounds. I guess it's better than the slowdown, but also sounds incredibly disruptive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should just watch a video of someone playing rollback netcode and try to get a sense.
Yeah, we're gonna study up on this. Anyways, let's talk about Pokemans.
Yeah, there's a Scarlet and Violet Gen 9 coming at the end of this year. This means it'll be like three major Pokemon games within a year span, if you count BDSP, I think is, Brilliant Diamond,
Shiny. I can just start calling it BDSM, and now I'm into that.
Yeah,
I've always
Mike is into BDSM. We've always known this.
Right.
Guys, can you imagine Mike just completely covered in leather?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just like, yeah, it fits.
All right, Jeff, who am I in the scenario? Am I the top or right? Am I the bottom in your mind?
I hadn't thought about it that far, Mike, and now I'm like, now I regret my decisions. I regret the road that has brought us here.
You did this.
I know, and I live with the regret.
Rachel's in chat. Now I'm embarrassed.
Whew, me too.
Although she's the one who brought up Honey Pop way back when, so she's not so innocent.
No, definitely not. Yeah, we definitely know that.
Man, somebody.
She can answer the question then.
Somebody took. I think it. I think it was Creaky Legs. They took that awful Stranger Paradise box art and just photoshopped it to put all the Honey Pop girls in it instead. And man, that was funny. That got a good old laugh out loud out of me.
Pokemon Legends Arceus is getting a new update with new content. That's not like a full DLC though, right?
Yeah, it's not much. There's like new trainer battles. You get a bunch of free balls, and there's Pokemon. Okay. There's like not invasions, herds. I don't know. It doesn't sound like much.
On Grubbsnack, someone asked me, does Scarlet and Violet mean that we shouldn't expect Arceus to get a big DLC expansion? What do you think? I think it still will because it's selling so well.
Right. I mean, look, if there's enough people that they could develop those two games at the same time in the first place, and there should be enough people to make DLC for Arceus and work on Violet and Scarlet. So, I mean, yeah, again, like, why not? The game is such a giant hit. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if in any way the announcement about Scarlet kind of hurts that momentum. I imagine not, but maybe they want to see that.
And then Pokemon BDSM is getting Oak's letter for Shaman as a mystery gift, which is a Pokemon that looks like a hedgehog. Is that right? Am I making that up?
I don't know that one. That one does not sound like one I know.
Shaman, that's a big Irish wrestler, right?
Shaman, man, Jeff was having me and Rachel were both kind of laughing because Jeff was like sent us this picture of a bunch of like.
I was busy Pokemon and I'm like, names. Look into this while I'm busy.
It was like Pokemon names and then like their Japanese names. He's like, look at this. We're like, okay, and it just like had the new Pokemon names, and we're like, what? All right, what is this? Like, cover this. I have to go. Like, what? And we didn't know what it was. There was like some new names. Then Jeff came back like, oh, those are just the Japanese names of the.
Once I got a chance to look into it, I'm like, could you just look into it? And you're like, fuck no, I don't care.
We didn't even know where to start. We didn't know what we were looking at. We were so scared.
Yeah, I recognize that. I'm like, okay, they're frightened of what I proposed to them here. I'm just gonna handle it myself.
Jeff had running out the door energy, and Rachel and I were just not on that wavelength.
Yes, they're like, I'm like, they clearly are not prepared to deal with me in this situation. Okay, Activision said it's acquisition. Okay, this one's a wild one. All right. Okay. Activision claims that it is the fault of the acquisition with Microsoft that they could not hire a third woman for its board of directors.
Well, this is obviously, wow, Microsoft, way to go.
Yeah, this is a rule in California where if you're a company in California, like Activision is, you have to have a certain number of diversity on your board of directors. This is a rule that I think was in place in what year? I think 2019, 2018, I believe 2018. So they've had since then to know they needed to do this. The Microsoft acquisition those talks began happening in like October, November. So, seems pretty wild to be like, well, Microsoft bought us. This is their fault. Kind of just a weird, wild thing to say because people understand how linear time works. Yeah.
Right. They may as well have just gone with our dog ate it.
Yes, it is the dog ate it. Absolutely. Of scuttling your legal liability.
I mean, I guess if they don't say that, just have to say, we didn't want to.
Yeah. I mean, and that's basically what they are saying. Absolutely. Right. Okay, keep going here. We got a list of numbers.
We would, but Bobby would threaten to kill them again. We can't have that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you have a woman on the board of directors too, he's going to threaten to kill them. So really, they're just saving that from happening. All right, here we got our numbers section. Sifu sales have topped 1 million. Babylon's Fall peaked at 650 players on Steam. Oh my God, is that real?
That's real. Yeah, Babylon's Fall
is just devastating.
I mean, the game looks bad. Yes. Nobody wants... People like Platinum Games specifically because They make like single player experiences that they like a lot, not for service games. And it came out, you know,
Worst
when
time,
one of the
yeah.
most buzzy kind of, oh, you really need to be in the zeitgeist for this one games ever is out in Elden Ring.
I think I'm gonna have to play this game now.
Yeah, now you need to see what it's about.
Yeah.
Wasn't it not too long ago that like Platinum Games was saying they wanted to do like a lot more service things? I bet they're gonna backtrack from that real fast.
Yeah, maybe. That is just. I mean, really. I mean, part of this you got to blame Square Enix. I bet Square Enix did not really support this game in any real way.
If that's Square Enix, that's hilarious. I wonder
that is Square Enix, and it's probably not going to get called out like Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's absolutely in that lineage of The Quiet Man and Left Alive and Balance Wonderworld and stuff.
It just looks so. It had like the same thing as what was that Gearbox published launch game, right? It's just like that same vibe. Like it just looks so video game.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, Godfall.
And Godfall is like more interesting to me than this. Like, but yeah.
Oh my god! Just like look at a screenshot of this game. Yeah.
It looks bad. Yeah.
It looks bad.
I think Jeff G over at Giant Bomb was saying that he would rather play that Baldur's Gate game, that recent one, Dark Alliance.
Oh, that one that got destroyed.
Yes,
reviews.
He's like, that one's better than this. So,
wow.
Oof. Yeah. Continuing the numbers, Back 4 Blood has now has more than 10 million players. The first expansion, Tunnels of Terror, is launching April 12th. Of course, that game part of Game Pass on PC and console, so that really helps with those numbers. Yacht Club Games sales breakdown. Here we go. Cyber Shadow has sold 85,000 copies. It was on Game Pass day one. It was played by 300,000 players. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon has sold 35,000 copies over all platforms, and that's a recent launch. But we should check that game out. I've been meaning to play that.
Yeah, I kind of missed that too, and it kind of came under the radar. And part of me's, I mean, that seems. I don't know. It's hard to say with indie games. That doesn't seem like a lot of copies.
No, it's. I mean, for anything with Shovel Knight in the title, I think that's pretty low. But yeah, they're moving on to Mina, and Mina's been a successful Kickstarter for them.
Why did they release those numbers?
I think they always do. I think they've been very open about their sales for years now. So I remember covering them breaking down like how many games, the percentage of what Shovel Knight has sold on each platform, and they kept updating that for years and years and years. So they've been very open about this stuff, and that's nice that they do that.
I remember I wonder if other people did this. You were just straight up got mixed up with Pocket Dungeon and Dig isn't even out yet, right?
I did.
I wonder if that's an issue some other people had.
Yeah, I was still like a little confused about what Dig even is now, because I think I thought Dig was Pocket Dungeon. Whatever. I'm gonna play these games because I love Shovel Knight, so I'm gonna play them. Release dates: Pac-Man Museum Plus is launching May 27th. It's coming to Xbox. It's coming to Game Pass as well, and it's hitting PlayStation, Switch, and PC as well. Shredders, that snowboarding game, I'm very excited about this, is coming March 17th. So just basically a week and a half from now, we'll be able to play that out, or about 2 weeks. I'm really looking forward to that. And then House of the Dead Remake is launching April 7th. I think that's launching on like Switch and stuff, and I really am still very curious to like how you're supposed to play this game.
On Switch, I imagine you can just type your screen at least.
Hey,
totally. I played House of the Dead 2 on Dreamcast with a controller back in the day.
I remember the DS had a couple of like light gun games, like Point Blank DS, and that was like pretty good. That was a pretty good game.
Right. I mean, you could use you could probably use the Switch. Well, it doesn't really have a pointer, does it? But it can kind of.
But you can like
do it.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
I mean,
but
look, I wouldn't buy a light gun game in 2022. I just wouldn't. So, but hey,
that's
out there.
Same here. Mike, that does it for the news. We got some super chats in, and I would really like for you to read those to me.
Jeff, I would really like to read them to you.
Thank you very much.
Uriel Delgado says, thoughts on Gran Turismo 7 hiding Metacritics for a better score, or hiding microtransactions for a better score.
I hate this. This continues to bug me that companies do this. Microsoft is, I think, the inventor of this concept, or at least one of the early adopters of this. They did this with a Forza, not the most recent Forza. They seemed like they were going to do this, and then they didn't. I think there was a Forza that launched, and then it got microtransactions later, or maybe it never. I don't know. It seemed like it was going to. And they did some other games like that as well. But they launched it a month or two after the review period, so people that were reviewing the game had no interaction with these microtransactions by the time it launched. And then they swooped in underneath there and were like, okay, and now there's microtransactions. This feels very I feel like that is the reason why they do that, right? Is to not have reviewers ding the game for the microtransaction economy.
Yeah,
I mean, you reviewed Gran Turismo. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels underhanded. I will say that I wouldn't have like I just wouldn't even have looked at the microtransactions because that just isn't anything I would even ever consider. And I saw it's like cars that cost $4 in Gran Turismo Sport are like 40 or something in this, and it's ridiculous. But if the car was like 50 cents, I also wouldn't buy anyway, so it wouldn't have impacted me. I mean, that's why like don't buy those cars. Of course not. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen Microsoft had to kind of turn around with Halo, right? Where basically they overcharged for the microtransactions, and people weren't buying them. It turns out.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I know normally we're kind of like anti "don't speak with your wallet," but it seems like that can be effective, at least with these stupid microtransactions.
Yeah, don't buy things you don't want to buy. Like absolutely,
right.
Like that's like do what's best for you and to enjoy a game. And I do agree in most cases that's probably not engaging with microtransactions in games like that cost $70. I'll say that I do believe that you can unlock all of this content in the game using in-game currency. Right. Now,
part of the game, anyways, is like unlocking this stuff by like playing the game and earning credits. So it feels like a weird way to play the game anyway, just buying them.
And like when you were playing, did you feel like the economy was slow, or like if there was an option to buy stuff, like people might be encouraged to do that because it's like,
I don't know,
I really want that car and it's taking forever, anything like that?
I didn't know if it felt slow. Like that would be like, hey, you can buy 50 moons in Mario Odyssey, right? Like, okay, yeah, I guess that's faster, but I'm playing the game. I don't know. Again, getting the cars and progressing and getting nicer cars as you can eventually afford those, that just seems to be part of it. Like, to me, it's weird to even have the microtransactions.
Yes.
Especially in that way. Honestly, that feels like something from 10 years ago. Like, you could just buy a car directly. Kind of dumb.
Yes, I agree. And it seems like not the right way to support this game long term.
Because all it does is it's a bad look. And not that many people are probably going to buy them anyways. It's not really going to bring in that much revenue. So I don't really get it, especially for these big first-party $70 games. We really need to have a big microtransaction economy for them still.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's Khalid says Forza Motorsport 7 never had microtransactions. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I remember there was people thought there was going to be, and it's like waiting for the other shoe to drop there. Maybe they never did drop. It was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember exactly how that went down. But I mean, maybe this is something that will come in Spartacus, but I think I kind of like the way Nintendo's been doing stuff with its way of supporting games. Like, hey, we're putting out DLC, and then we're also just going to include that DLC in our big major subscription thing. I mean, maybe that's the way, like, put like extra stuff into PS Plus. Put it in your top tier of Spartacus whenever that launches, whatever.
Yeah, in this case, it'd be weird because, again, so much of Gran Turismo was like slowly being able to buy nicer cars. It'd be weird out. It's like, here's like these 20 cars that you now get.
Yeah,
and they're
good
really
point.
Good. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. This game.
Yeah, I guess like long term for people who are still going to be playing Gran Turismo a year from now, like with their club of other drivers that they race with every weekend, and there's a lot of people who play that game that way. I'd be like, okay, maybe it'd be nice for them, but I don't know. I'm not a game designer. I'm not a in-game economy designer, so whatever.
All right. Abe Froman3 says, Jeff and Mike, happy Friday. I had a long week. Me too. Could you spare any Xbox news or leaks to lift my spirits? Thanks for the content. Have a nice weekend. All right, Jeff. This man asked nicely. He gave you money. Go into your Grubb Snacks vault and give him something.
I mean, there's not much to talk about, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anything new that I have that I could talk about. I on the last week's show, not this week's Grubb Snacks, last week's, that's when I talked about the Fallout New Vegas thing. I'll say that since then I've sort of had the nod, that those conversations are happening, and the way that I've phrased it, where it's like it's still years off. Obsidian has a million things on their plate that they need to deal with first, but the overall thrust of that story of like them wanting to find a home for Fallout without having to wait for Bethesda Game Studios, that is like definitely true. That is 100% them. They're trying to figure out multiple options. There's some other rumors out there that I haven't been able to verify, like, inXile is going to be doing one as well or something like that. I don't know if that's true. People have been saying that, but I'll say that the overall thrust of that story, that they want to take these big IPs and keep them more active than they would be if they had to like wait for a certain studio to get done with the game and then get done with the next game, and then 10 years from now start on that. They do not want to be in that situation. So they're trying to figure out what that looks like, and I think they do want to tap Obsidian. And if they do a New Vegas 2, it sounds like it'd probably be like a more like, okay, a successor without having to necessarily continue the events of New Vegas 1 or something like that.
Or even take place in Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, they could. Yeah, everything's on the table. Like, it's so early that these conversations could morph.
Right. I know a lot of people heard that rumor, like you say, New Vegas 2, and they think literally like a sequel that still takes place in Las Vegas. We just mean another Obsidian Fallout game.
Yeah, more likely that I think that's very likely. But I mean, New Vegas 2 is the term that they were throwing around.
What do you think? How does Bethesda Game Studios feel about that? Do you think they're feel like slighted, like, wow, they're just taking this away from us and throwing it out to whoever now, and we don't really get a say in it? Or do you think they understand? Do they get it? They want to be a team player?
I think they get it. They've hired Obsidian to do exactly this before, so it's not like something that they would be completely against, because they've done this exact thing before. I think it was more like they're like, okay, but when we do come to Fallout, we want to make sure there's a space carved out for us to do the real next Fallout from Bethesda Game Studios.
The Fallout 5.
Right.
But it would be weird because Fallout New Vegas, the first one, was such a, well, we're just making something almost like a Fallout 3 mission pack kind of thing. Now, obviously, it's not that, or a Fallout 3 expansion. But, it was very similar. It was a bit Majora's Masky, if you get my drift.
It would clearly not be able to be that if it's not being based on a Fallout from Bethesda Game Studios. But at this point, they can't wait for that.
76.
Right, yes,
so they're gonna have to make a lot of Fallout assets from scratch this time.
I agree. I'll see if I can come up with some more Xbox rumors for you, though, and stuff. I'll see what I can come up with next time.
Chaos Might says, can you connect a controller to the Steam Deck? Can you dock the Steam Deck onto a TV or monitor?
Yes. I got a Ginky Covert, which is like a Switch dock. And if you have a Switch dock where you don't actually... A Ginky Covert is the name of the dock. Okay. Yeah. I've got it plugged in there. It's working great as long as you have the right cable, a USB 3.0 or 3.1 video cable with enough power. It's working great, but you go to Target and probably find a dock. You're going to want to make sure you can find a dock that enables you to plug in wall power. Because if you don't, it's just going to be running on battery, and eventually it's going to die. And if you're trying to play a game on the TV, it's going to happen pretty quickly. But yeah, and then into that dock, into a dock, if the dock has a USB port, you can then just plug in a keyboard, mouse, whatever. So that's what I've been doing. I've been using keyboard and mouse. You can plug a controller in, absolutely. You could use a controller over Bluetooth as well. So yeah, all those options. It's just a PC. And all that stuff is supported.
Dio Game says, are the rumors that From Software is making an Xbox exclusive true?
Say it again. I'm sorry. I saw Rachel asking about the Ginky Covert, and I wanted to answer.
Is the rumor that From Software is making an Xbox exclusive true?
I don't know. I feel like those conversations have probably been ongoing, but I think if that were the case, Microsoft would have had better luck trying to get the marketing rights for Elden Ring, which they never were able to secure those, even though there was always talks that they were trying to. They definitely were trying to, but they were rebuffed. They were denied. Now, that was probably had more to do with Bandai Namco than with From specifically, and Microsoft could then come in there and deal with From. But I think the reason that might have broken down is still that there's other companies that want to work with From, and they're like, hey, don't work with Microsoft, work with us, and that's still true. So I don't know. I'm skeptical that a From Xbox exclusive is ever going to materialize, although maybe there are conversations.
Lucius Augustus says, I have the desire, but none of the time for Elden Ring. Hopefully I'll be able to beat the game this year. Lol. A game like this, I want to take my time. Yeah, definitely don't get into Elden Ring unless you think you have some time to devote to it, because it does require a lot of time. And I think it'd be frustrating to just play like an hour or two a week.
Yeah, God, this would be a really tough game to play that way. Where it's like if coming back and having to, like, I'm already struggling on playing like for hours at a time, and I'm already struggling to like remember what's going on. People are like, take notes. I'm like, I've never taken notes for anything in my life. Notes. I'm not going to take notes. And if that means I'm missing stuff in this game, at a certain point, that's the game's fault. And it doesn't seem like it's not actually much of a problem. Also, of course,
no. There's a zillion things to discover. You don't have to discover all of them, and not any single thing is that important. It feels like, right?
Exactly.
And if there's something very specific you want, like you're like, I think I want a better weapon, then go online and find out what's a good weapon for my build. Then you can go get it. So yeah, I don't think you need to take notes. I don't think, like the missions, right? Like you run across some guys like, oh, go here and do this gesture when you hear a wolf cry. If I forget about that, whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's how I play too.
RDX Son of a Fett says, F. Azor, rest in peace, Stalker 2. Jeff, is there any actual threat that Stalker 2 would get, like, canceled? Because
I mean, it's on hiatus because the people making the game are trying to flee for their lives.
Right.
I don't think that means the game is never going to come out now. I think that they will find a way to get those people back together or somewhere safe, enable them to continue working on the game. It'll probably get delayed though, of course, but whatever. Let's get those people safe first, and then we can worry about the game.
Right. Evan Dance says, could Phil get Sekiro 2 exclusive with Activision? So similar to the previous question we had here.
Maybe there's something to that. Like maybe like that is maybe there's some contractual thing where like if we want to do a sequel or something like that, if we can meet a certain threshold, you guys have to sort of at least consider that.
I mean, at this point, the next From game is going to sell so much. That's like saying we want the next Rockstar games to be exclusive to Xbox, right?
I mean, that is the level we're talking about, right? In terms of sales, you're absolutely right. Now, maybe there's a tiny bit more cultural cachet with a Rockstar game still, but sure. This is like the very next tier below that, and that's still like it's going to take a lot of money to get those exclusives.
It's not
especially
like
after
any
this
Street Fighter exclusive to a platform, right? It's
especially Street Fighter 5 at that time, right? Nothing like that.
Bit of a bigger deal, and I wonder if at that point, if Microsoft needs to spend money on it, they might just would rather buy From Software than buy the exclusive rights to a single game.
Yep.
Stephen Hart says, this is talking about our Resident Evil 2 talk. If I can't mod Mr. X to play X Gun and give it to you on PlayStation 5, then I'm not interested. Fair enough, Stephen.
Yep, I understand that completely.
Supernova says, hello, Mike, Jeff, and everyone. Is the state of play for Sony for this month true? Do we expect the unveiling of the Cory Balrog project? There's no way they're going to announce whatever Cory Balrog's working on next before God of War even comes out, right, Jeff?
I think that's right. And if they do, they would probably do it at the PlayStation Showcase later this year. I think this is going to be significant for a state of play. I don't think it's going to be like a PlayStation Showcase level event. But that's just me kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit. We'll see.
But this month?
But I do believe it's this month. I mean, based on like the stuff that I hear, based on what other people are saying, there's a lot of smoke. It seems like it should be this month.
There's a lot of things that it feels like they should be talking about also. There's Spartacus, right. There's PlayStation VR2, God of War, and some other games. It seems like they need to announce some games again also. They need to start padding out the release lineup past God of War. So
yes, yeah, it seems like it sounds like they have a lot of stuff ready to go with that. I mean, the rumors are like Sly and Infamous, maybe new games in each, or at the very least like remakes. What do you think about those?
I somehow just I've missed the Sly Cooper games, pretty much all of them. I don't know how that happened, but I did. So at some point I need to get back to those. Infamous never moved the needle much for me. I didn't really like the first too much. I played the PlayStation 4 launch game or launch window game because it was a launch window game and liked it fine and remember very little about it except my brother died, I think, and my guy was sad about that. But I don't know. I don't know if it moves the needle for me. I feel like Spider-Man already does the whole open world superhero thing for PlayStation so well. I think I'd rather just see Sucker Punch do something else now. But sure. Why not? I'd rather they Infamous than Resistance. Resistance I have no love for. If we're going to bring back those sort of PlayStation 3 era franchises, then why not?
Cool.
King is overrated said, will Xbox or PlayStation have a showcase before E3/summer time frame? So we expect PlayStation to probably have something this month. What about Xbox?
I wouldn't put it on any level like a Nintendo Direct or a State of Play. If Microsoft has anything, they might talk about some indie games around the GDC time frame. Maybe I don't know. They might announce something like some stuff. Here's some new games coming to Game Pass. I don't think they're gonna have a showcase until E3 though.
Jeff, that is it for the super chats for now. If you guys want to ask us any more questions, you can still send in a super chat. We will read it before the show's over. Why don't we get to those community questions now?
Thank you, Mike. I am now reading from the community questions, which you can send in if you are a Patreon member or you subscribe to like one of our Twitch channels or something like that. You go into the secret channels. One of them is the podcast producers, where Beefhammer asked, "Happy Friday, Jeff. Earth's crust is 80% ants Grubb, and Mike, my body is 80% Arby's Minotti. With the release of Elden Ring, it's time to decide which you would prefer. Getting hugs from Fia in Elden Ring, or getting stepped on by Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village." I guess still prefer getting stepped on by Lady Dimitrescu.
So do you want like mommy Dom or nice mommy, huh?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Although nice mommy also gives you a debuff, so everyone it's claimed that it's a buff, but it actually like lowers your HP. So yeah.
I don't know if either of them are my particular flavor of mommy Dommy. I'll be honest. I'll just leave that up to everybody's imagination what that could possibly mean.
Fair enough. Thank you for the asked and answered. From Blackheart Vinyl. The Kojima/Xbox deal feels like it's taking a long ass time compared to most of these deals. Is that actually true? That it is taking longer than usual, or does it just feel that way because we heard about it early? I think it's a little bit of both.
It probably feels that way because Jeff leaked it very early.
Yes.
Why.
Yes, it's definitely a little bit of both. Like I definitely leaked it pretty early, and it's still going on. But also there is an issue with the and I talked about this before. I think I talked about it on Grubb Snacks, but like the language barrier does really add a long time to these conversations in the back and forth. You have to have two sets of lawyers on each side that can communicate to each other in different languages, and then you have to take that translation, take it to Matt Booty, have him like read it over again, and Matt Booty's gonna have to be like, okay, now send this over to our lawyers, and now have it translated, have it go back over to Japan, do the same process over there. That really lengthens the time that these sorts of deals take. That's why PlayStation was able to get a deal done with Kojima pretty quickly after he left Konami, right? Well, that's because they have people who are native to Japan making deals in Japan. And Microsoft is not, like, Microsoft still has to have Matt Booty approve every step of the way. And that adds a layer of complication to this stuff. Maybe that might be, I did talk about them opening offices in Japan. That could be a big part of like solving this specific issue, where maybe you just have Japanese Matt Booty actually getting the authority to make these decisions on behalf of Microsoft, so you don't have to go through that layer of translation anymore. From Carl Minger. Let's see. Hey, Jeff. Since you appear to be the man with knowledge on the inner workings of Obsidian, that is overstating it. Tim Kaine has for years said he would like to make a sequel to cult classic Arcanum. Mr. Kaine is now back at Microsoft's Obsidian. Microsoft now owns the right to Arcanum through Sierra Activision. With all the current projects Obsidian is working on and NV2 talk, is there any chance at all? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have that quite like that granular of insight into it.
What is Arcanum? I have very little memory of that one. Is that a good game?
I don't know. I've never played it. I don't know. I'm sorry to Carl Minger. I'll ask around about this and see what I can find out. But we'll see. I mean, you're right. All the pieces are in place. Maybe they could do something with that. And
I recognize this box art. Yeah, this is okay. This is like some top-down RPG shit right here.
Okay, wow. Yeah. And if Tim Kaine wants to follow up with it, I mean, maybe that's. But I mean, he's back at Obsidian again. Obsidian, very busy.
Penny, calm down.
All right. Let's see here. Uh-oh. We got Mad Dog, everybody. From Jump Matt. When interest rates start to rise, do you think we'll see Do you think we'll see a big slowdown in studio acquisitions? Not a big slowdown, but things will slow down a little bit. Yeah. So one of the reasons that people are able to make such big acquisitions is that financing those acquisitions is really cheap because interest rates have been so low for so long. Getting capital was very cheap, and as interest rates start to go up, that will change. That's the whole point. Is that the government wants sort of big money moves like that to slow down a little bit, to slow down inflation. But at the same time, I don't know if those higher interest rates will counterbalance what is going to probably still be a pretty high rate of inflation for the next year or two. And people are probably going to still want to spend the money they have on hand. And a lot of companies still have a lot of money on hand because they're very flush after the pandemic. So it'll slow down slightly. But I don't know if it'll be enough for us to like recognize, oh, hey, What happened to acquisitions? They all went away. I don't think that's likely to happen. From Pablo Cos. Good question, though, Jet Matt. Howdy, folks. Questions for Wide Mikey. If somehow Elden Ring were to gain an Iron Maiden-inspired DLC, name 5 songs you would like to see being featured. I feel like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner has to be one of them. Happy Friday.
Yes, absolutely. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. That would make a lot of sense. Flight of Icarus jumped to mind immediately. By the way, the best part of the Avengers game was when they played Flight of Icarus when you went into space. That made me very happy. Number of the Beast, Gangland. Let's say Gangland as a kind of a weird choice there. That'd be kind of fun. And Wicker Man. There you go. There's five Iron Man songs for you.
From Casual. Happy Friday, Booyah boys. I've asked Jeff this before. Now it is Mr. Minotti's turn.
Oh, man.
Mike, what's your favorite thing about where you live?
The amount of Arby's locations. I don't know. No, it's just kind of chill here. It's pleasant. I have I get to live in a kind of quiet suburb area where I can walk around to a lot of places. I'm pretty close to a lot of friends and family, but I also can drive an hour and get to some relatively decent sized cities like Pittsburgh and Cleveland that have like things going on and whatnot. I'm in a very good in-between spot from like I don't live in the middle of nowhere. I don't live in some big crowded urban area. It is just my speed. Got all the 4 seasons and everything else. So there's like a nice cadence to the year. It feels like there's a good progression of time all the time. Yeah. I've also always lived here, so I'm just obviously a creature of habit at this point, but I do like it a lot.
From Cranjus McBasketball. Hey, Jeff and Mike, Advanced Wars is finally coming back in a month. But should it? But should it, he asked. What? All right,
Wow.
I'll read the rest. With current events being what they are, I imagine Nintendo's looking at this cartoon war game and wondering if they could pull it last minute, or are things too far gone for that to happen? This is a sticky situation, and with no real end in sight, do companies hold products like this forever, or do they just put them out and take the PR hit? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this.
So that's interesting, because I didn't think about that deck, because we are seeing like a lot of images of actual tanks and stuff now, right?
Yes.
So it does like make like this thing. This war game. Now at the same time, there is like something kind of like I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but wars have been going on constantly, right?
For this entire time. Yep.
For this entire time. So it is a little precious for us to be like, well, now. Oh, and I know this isn't how you meant it, to be clear. Like,
no. Yes, I agree.
But it's like, oh, now the white people are at war with each other, and now it's like, man, actually, war's bad.
Yeah, this is the war that makes me sad. So yeah.
So either we got to be okay with these things all the time and understand that like that these are video games and whatever, or we're not okay with it. And maybe we're not okay with it. That's fine, but there can't be a double standard about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if Nintendo will see it this way, but I agree with what Mike said, where it's like there have been tanks moving into places all over the world for this is just nonstop for our entire lives. Just because it's happening in a part where it normally doesn't happen, apparently, at least that's how we're framing it, even though it's the place that basically invented it in the 20th century. Yes, it would be weird to stop making games about war now. It's kind of how it feels.
Right. Now, but obviously you can see why things like Fire Emblem and Splatoon have been very appealing brands for Nintendo.
Agreed. Yes. Velocity Prime 1 asks, Friday comes this time of week for the Beef and Cheddar boys. So the Switch turned 5 this week. Mm-hmm. Did this news make you feel the inexorable forward march of time and that your life on this earth is a mere blink of an eye in the grand cosmic dance of the universe?
Thank God it is, man. This earth couldn't handle more than an average lifetime supply of Mike Minotti. I'll tell you that right now. No, I think we talked about it before. I don't really mind the whole aging, getting older thing for the most part. I've been thinking about it recently. You know what's made me think about it is the Batman, and how I haven't even seen it yet, and how there was a time in my life where like a new Batman movie coming out was a big cultural event, and I had to I was there in the line and everything. Now it's like, yeah, I guess I'll see that later. Oh, everyone online likes it, but that doesn't mean I will anymore, because I'm not the main demographic. Maybe I'll just see it and once again feel like I don't get kids these days. So that's just. There's a bit of that, and it always happens, but I can't even remember the question now. Now I'm just talking about my.
Well, you know what? He had a follow up anyhow. What do you think the completion rate on Elden Ring will be? Like 5%, right?
I think it could be higher.
I think it'll be a little bit higher.
And completion is getting all the Elden runes and then fighting whatever final boss you get after that. It's a good question. Like whatever the completion rate is on Witcher 3, it'll be similar to that. Let's say that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair metric. Yeah. From Giggy, my feeds are mostly music and gaming related, and no one I follow saw Epic Games acquiring Bandcamp. Did either of you get any inclination something like this was going to happen?
No, I had no idea.
I agree. Where like this is like completely out of left field for me. I'm like still like I like read up on it. I'm like, okay, I guess they're expanding. Still, I feel like I still don't have a grasp on what is happening when Epic makes a deal like this. From Jedi Moss 4, I've spent several years now switching between 1080p and 4K on my TV for games, and I feel like the resolution difference isn't that noticeable, and often you can barely tell when you're playing at a fluid 60 or 120 frames per second. Do gamers too much obsess over resolution and pixel counts? The answer to this question is yes. They 100% spend too much time obsessing on that. It really does drive me crazy, especially with something like the Steam Deck coming out or like the Switch OLED, and people like, it's still only 720p. I mean, not even 1080p.
It's a small portable screen. Like, how high should the resolution be?
My phone is almost 4K, and I'm like, I promise you, the games are not running at 4K on your phone. Developers don't do that because it's a waste of resources. But no one cares. They just like the big number, Mike. People like number that big.
They do. And we saw like they're trying to float around 8K with gaming stuff just because it could be a big number. Yeah. Like trying to make that a marketing buzz thing.
I think people are getting, yes.
To get people excited about the future. And I think they realized that, all right, no one cares.
Right. Everyone's like, I don't think that one's going to make a difference. At least I hope that's the way we continue to be. The reality is, if you sit far enough away from your television, the difference between 1080p and 4K is negligible. If you sit pretty close to a very large TV, the difference is noticeable. Absolutely. Is it worth the resolution or the frame rate hit if you're going below 60? No, it's the same thing for 60 to 120. Once you hit 60, most people are going to not notice a difference anything above that at that point. Some people do. And then if you're a pro gamer or something like that, going up to like 300 frames per second can make a difference to your performance in a game. Absolutely. But you listen to this, you're not a pro gamer. It doesn't matter. 60 frames per second is enough for most people. And if you like 120, then that's fine. Absolutely. But you're going to get eventually you will get diminishing returns, and like 240 frames per second you're not going to probably notice that.
Right. Of course, even with these new consoles, we're still picking between modes. We're still picking, what we're sacrificing here. So, and I think most people I think if you got the numbers, I imagine most people every time pick frame rate.
I love big numbers. VJ Incoming, who also loves big, beautiful numbers, says, I fucking love Splatoon.
Yeah. Oh, shit. I need to install Splatoon.
We're playing tonight.
Yeah.
If you want to play Splatoon 2, get it installed on your Switch because we're playing tonight. Get into the community game night channel inside of our server, discord.com/GameMess. Pinball RJ. Do you think Yuzu being on Steam Deck could cause legal issues for the makers of that emulator or ROM sites? We joke about doing crimes, but downloading newly released software to run on a device the same form factor as the Switch could definitely be seen as an issue in court. Now, emulators are... Listen, I think if Nintendo could have done something about Yuzu, it would have by now. Yuzu is an emulator, and emulation is if you do it in a clean room, which is like you are not looking at the source code and building something based on that, but instead you work to backwards engineer the Switch on your own, separate from that stuff. It's all legal. This stuff has been sussed out in court years and years ago. I mean, it's what happened with IBM-compatible machines and why everyone was able to make IBM-compatible PCs in the 80s and stuff. There's a show about that on AMC. What was it? Halt and Catch Fire. They kind of talk a little bit about this stuff. I don't think this will be a legal issue. It's free open source software, and I think Yuzu is free open source. It is free. I'm wondering if it's open source because I know Simu was not open source, and that actually opens up to a little bit more litigation, I believe. I'm not a lawyer, but I like I said, I think if Nintendo could have done something to stop Yuzu, it would have done something to stop them by now. And yes, Yuzu doesn't give you games, as Pixel Champion in chat points out. You have to bring your games yourself, so you have to back them up yourself, right? Or then you go and get them illegally, and then that's where the problems are for ROM sites, and Nintendo absolutely can and has been going after those. As long as they just leave my favorite site alone, I'll be fine. Although you can't get Switch games on my favorite site, so there's that. From Giselle. Hey, Jeff and Mike, so I plan on getting my hands on the Steam Deck. My plan is to use it as a portable emulation fighting game station. How is controller compatibility, whether that's connecting a Bluetooth controller or a USB into a hub? Have a good day, boys. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but to repeat, it's great. It's just a PC, so anything that will work on PC should work. It's Linux. I don't think this should introduce any issues. Like, a lot of this stuff should just plug in and start playing. And that's what it's been like for me so far. Just plugging stuff in, it's just worked. Epic Open World asks, how do you guys think Elden Ring will change the perception of Starfield? For example, when Starfield comes out and is more of a map game, will people be disappointed? Does Bethesda make map games? I don't know. That's not how I describe it.
I don't think. I don't think Starfield's going to be a map game. It's going to be a Bethesda game, right? Which has always been something different. I mean, they've been very RPG-y.
Right.
And there will be icons. Like, I wouldn't call Fallout 4 a map game. It'll be like Fallout 4, I imagine, but a little bit more Mass Effect-y. That's always been the weird problem with the sci-fi games, is despite the fact that it's like, oh, wow, this is like a galaxy now, so the scale is bigger. It often feels smaller because you have to go to all of these planets, and each planet is like this just smaller open world thing, right?
Right.
And I wonder how this is working. I mean, there's still so many questions about Starfield.
We just have no real idea.
But I don't think it's going to be like a Far Cry clone.
Right, and that Epic Open World clarifies this. Bethesda games are not Ubisoft games, but they lean closer to map games than Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild. Conversely, will people be so tired of Elden Ring talk/praise that things like a quest log that tells you what you need to do and where to go become more appreciated? I think, everything's on the spectrum, of course, so like I get what you mean a little bit, but I still feel like, to me, Skyrim feels like an obvious predecessor to Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring.
Sure, and also kind of a different tier, different pillar. I don't think people are going to be too worried about comparing it to Elden Ring, especially by the time it comes out. Like, again, this is like, what, 7 months from now? It's quite a while.
Yeah, I think Elden Ring's still going to be a very big part of the conversation, but it will have quieted down somewhat.
Sure, but not so much that like people like
not like it is now. Back. You're right. From Pappy Wappy, as someone who is new to messing with emulation, what is some advice to give to have an optimal experience? Love the show. You guys are really a ray of sunshine on these cloudy days. Thank you, Pappy Wappy. Definitely seek out resources on like YouTube and stuff like that for people who are doing that thing you're trying to do, and try to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I will say, as somebody who's not as like proficient in this stuff as Jeff, you can't just like install the thing and go. That's what I thought the first time with something like Dolphin, right? And why I would get frustrated at first. You do need to mess around with settings, and you do need to go, and there are a lot of resources, but you do need to find those resources, and you do have to learn a little bit on what settings you should use, and sometimes what settings you need to mess around with a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say that something like Dolphin, make sure that the first thing you should probably do is just like go to Vulkan or go to the graphics renderer option and change it to Vulkan.
I had to learn about that. That drop-down window helped me a lot, because at first I was like, okay, this is important, and I had to try these things and see what works best. And I know you've said now for Steam Deck, Vulkan's the best one, right?
Yes, definitely. It runs great. The support in Steam Deck for Vulkan was like day one consideration for Valve, and so it runs great as it should have. But yeah, once I switched that on, I was getting like kind of really close to solid 60 in Metroid Prime, and not even having that hitching when you switch to ball form, which can happen a lot of times. But yeah, you just be willing to tinker is kind of a little bit of the truth. Now, if you want a more streamlined experience, you want something that will work a little bit better, you could try RetroArch. That is still a little obtuse, because like, navigating those menus, like where's the stuff you need to get, and importing stuff, where did I put it on my PC and stuff like that. But once you sort of figure out those issues, a lot of stuff will work, but the cores in that are a little bit more outdated. They're not quite as efficient as if you were to go get, like, you can get a Dolphin core in RetroArch, but it's not going to be as good as if you were to go get Dolphin itself and run it there. But once you go back far enough, like if you're talking about N64 games and before, RetroArch is good enough, and it's like very much a nice front end for running those things. From Octo, hey Grubb Squad. Next time I'll switch. How dare you? He says next time I'll switch to a Minotti related naming scheme.
I like how he anticipated that this would bother me.
He knew.
Wow.
What?
Jesus, am I that predictable?
Yes.
Now I feel
He like predicted exactly how that would go down, and I'm glad he made you feel bad because you should. What games or gaming moment blew your mind for whatever reason? One of my most holy shit moments was with GTA 2 back in the day. After playing a ton of it, at one point randomly a new arrow popped up on my HUD blinking. I followed it, and to my shock, there was another city in the game. Not only that, there were 3 in total. As a kid, having no idea, this realization was so mind-blowing that a game I loved was triple the size I initially thought. I know a lot of people had similar experiences with Castlevania Symphony of the Night with the inverted castle. What were some of your great mind-blowing gaming moments?
I was impressed by train levels. I remember the first Gears of War, and I played through that co-op with AJ, my brother, and I got that train level in the end. I was just like, wow. I thought that was just the most impressive thing I ever saw. And then like a few years later, we had the Uncharted 2 train level, and that was just, the coolest thing I saw by leaps and bounds there. The final bit of Half-Life 2 always was something that really wowed me, where like just from like the design wise and from just kind of like the player power fantasy, like, it was a very different approach to doing a final level where it's like, let's make you overpowered. In this whole game, we had this restriction with the gravity gun where, oh, you can't use it on people, to the point where I thought that it was some technical limitation, but no, it's just some gameplay consideration. And they're like, no, that's out of here. Now you're like Superman, and you're almost kind of scary. And gosh, what an amazing kind of final level. That's something that always stuck with me. Like, you have that bad guy monologuing at you the whole time. That was great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest mind-blowing moments for me were in Breath of the Wild, probably, when I'm like, okay, I have this idea to do something in the physics, and I'm going to like cut down this tree and obviously use it as a bridge, but then can I like whack it a bunch of times after freezing it and see if I could like roll it into these guys and take them all out without them ever noticing me? Oh, that worked too. When everything just works in Breath of the Wild, it's like, that is really impressive stuff. I also like in Hitman when I first go to a level and you see something and you're like, I wonder if that'll work. Like, I'm like, you see the stage in the Paris level and you see the models walking on the stage, and you're like, I wonder if I can walk on the stage. I wonder if I can pretend to be a model and walk on the stage. And then you become whatever his name is, the model, and you put on the face paint, and you go out there and walk out there, and then you come back and you kill everyone. And it's like, oh man, when they set something up and then they deliver on it, like, that is such a structure in gaming that is missed a lot of times, like the setup and the payoff. That's something that happens in a lot of other mediums. It happens in like stand-up comedy, it happens in books, it happens in movies, it happens in music. Games do that, but like when they do it like to that degree, it always really blows me away. And Hitman's like the best at that.
Two more real quick ones.
Yeah, please.
Thinking about like a world expanding or doubling, Pokemon Gold and Silver was the big one, where at the end it's just like, oh, all of the map from the first game is in here now too. That's crazy. And then you saw about Breath of the Wild, the end of Mario Galaxy, where the whole game is teaching you, like, if something's not wearing a hat, you could probably control it. Then at the very end there, like, there's Bowser just unconscious for the first time in the game, like, really not wearing his hat, and you're like, oh my god, that is just incredible. So those are some examples.
Sorry, I got my email from Steam, and it's not about the Steam Deck pre-order. I'm like waiting for that to come in because I have it promised to someone. It's still not coming in.
Yeah, not to me, but thank you. Also promised Red Dead Redemption when you enter Mexico, and that is also a good one.
Delta Prime 84, hey, beef and cheddar boys. SCS Software, who are the Truck Sim devs, were getting very close to releasing their Heart of Russia expansion for Euro Truck Sim 2. But with world events happening last week and sentiment towards Russia going, shall we say, downhill, do you think we can expect SCS to have to shelve the Russian expansion for the foreseeable future, which would leave SCS with no potentially new expansion to sell this year, as Texas for America Truck Sim is a long way off? Yeah, that's just a rough situation. It's like, whose fault is that? No one's. Mm-hmm. I think if I were them, you find a way to make it work by saying, hey, we will donate a cut of these sales to, whatever, the Red Cross or something like that. You find a way to do that, and you just say, listen, we did not plan it this way. We're sorry that we're doing this way. We won't even sell it in Russia. But, we did invest in all this stuff. We have people to feed here, and what can we do to make this not like look bad? And I think most people will be pretty understanding, because putting the word Russia on a box is not going to change much when you sell that. It's just not going to have really a material effect on the lives of people in Ukraine. And real quick, Octo in the last one, I'm going to skip this, has said, I have a great weekend, and to any Ukrainian listeners, hang in there. Thank you, Octo. Winnie featuring Vengeance from the Batman series. Any updates on what some of the mystery projects Sony Studios are working on? They announced 20 plus games were in the works, but we only know a few. I mean, it's going to run the gamut, but I bet that those rumors about Sly Cooper and Infamous are true. That seems right. But beyond that, I don't know. I think one of their shooter games will probably be something like SOCOM. I bet SOCOM comes back. That or MAG.
Whatever Housemarque's working on, right. Probably whatever the next Team Asobi thing is, which is probably just Astro Bot Rescue Mission 2 for VR. Yeah. Real quick, I said Mario Galaxy earlier when I meant Mario Odyssey, and that is a very embarrassing mistake, and I had to correct it.
Fair enough. Understood. Bench JC, hey fellas, wanted to ask Mike how Final Fantasy XIV is going, and a general question: any news on y'all getting out of Nintendo jail? Jeff's recent antics seem like it isn't really going to happen.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Hey, you said it being in Nintendo jail has not hurt us at all.
It doesn't, but I want Kirby.
Hey, listen, they haven't DMC. Everyone's like, they're going to DMCA your video. I'm like, they haven't yet.
Talk about emulation when like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out or something. Final Fantasy 14's been going good. We've been struggling with that third Savage boss for a while now, and someone's just kind of getting a little frustrated, which, you know, it happens in raiding. So hopefully next week, maybe we can finally down him and we could get some mojo back. But otherwise, it's been a little casual. They just announced the release date for the next major patch, and or release time frame. It's like middle of April. So that's when there will be sort of a slew of new content again. So that'll be fun. I've actually asked Nintendo. I said, hey, or our contact at Nintendo. He's a nice person. Hey, you know, it's been about over a year now. Do you think we'll be getting the Kirby code? And they said they were going to look into it. So we'll find out. I have no idea what to expect. I'm going to presume probably no. But
presume the worst.
See. Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of like raiding, I guess, or playing games together, do we have a group password in the Discord for Elden Ring? Because apparently if like you just put in a group password, you sort of like auto-populate the world with like messages from other people and that stuff.
Right.
So we should set that up.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. From Screaming Madden. Happy Friday, y'all. Hope everything is good. If you had to pick, which developer would you get to make an Arby's video game? My pick would easily be Vertigo Gaming, Inc., aka the team behind the best cooking series, Cook, Serve, Delicious. In fact, in CSD 2 and 3, there are recipes for roast beef sandwiches that have a beef and cheddar variant, and one type of fry you can cook that are curly fries. Oh, I mean, it sounds like a good fit. Although I would get Treasure to make a platforming run and gun game, or kind of like the Ronald McDonald game they made.
Is Treasure even a thing anymore?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say Yakup Games, and they're actually the one developer that actually already has made an Arby's game. So there you go. We'll get to make another one. We'll get to make one a true Arby's game, not just some reskin.
Nick Turbo says, "Hey, people who review game. Do you think a video game can be objectively good or bad? Is it 100% subjective or somewhere in the middle?"
I think everyone gets way too caught up on those terms.
Yes.
Reviews are just reviews. Then, of course, they are a combination of both things. Even if whatever you think objective means, what a person's definition of objective is defined by their personality and their position in life.
Like their experience, that's all they could do. But if I were to say, like, okay, so if like Super Mario Brothers was an objectively important moment for moving forward video games. Like it was important for showing people like, oh, mimicking physics in a side-scrolling platform and having the screen scroll smoothly. These were advancements that everyone should be copying, and we got to a point where everyone did copy them because they were objectively better than what came before. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that, but like speaking on those terms and not being like, I think this is objectively a good game, in my opinion. Like that doesn't make as much sense. But sort of speaking like in broader terms about like things that improved gaming overall, I think you can kind of have those conversations instead.
It's always hard for me to take that debate seriously because it only ever happens. People only get mad about reviews not being objective when they have like a Master Chief avatar and they're upset you didn't like give a Halo game a perfect score or something like that, you know?
Yep, you're right. This conversation that we are normally having is not one that is like as nuanced as it would need to be to actually have any real conversation about what is objectively good for games. Turbo Sean, happy Friday, Jeff. I'm 38 years old and nearly dead. Yes, but I'm not that old. Grubb. And Mike definitely also has the Tifa pumping scene in his YouTube recommended videos, Minotti. Mike, were you there for that when in my YouTube recommendations was like Tifa pumping, and I don't even know, like she was like pumping something.
Oh, Tifa pumping. Wait. Yeah. Was she pumping iron or was she?
I don't know. In something in the game, I clicked it and played it on the stream for a little bit, and there was nothing too untoward. I mean, she was wearing a skirt that was even shorter than her normal skirt.
What was she pumping?
I can listen if you're interested. I can get you a link to the video,
no,
Mike.
I'm not. Look, the fact that you can't.
I mean, if you need to see it, which I understand.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, Mike, with Persona 4 Arena getting silky smooth rollback netcode this summer, when will you face me?
Silky smooth going back multiple seconds.
Listen,
I guess
the fighters love it, man.
I feel like I've been sold a bag of lies about what this was. I don't know.
He says, when will you face me in combat? My rise, pronounced Risei, Jeff.
Yes, thank you, God.
He totally
as soon as he said rise,
yeah, I know. And I saw it coming, and I'm like, oh, he gives the pronunciation, but I didn't see him say Jeff at the end, like so pointedly. Is ready to kick ass and take names, you coward. P.S. I would normally extend the same challenge to Jeff, but I know his interest in Persona and fighting games is so low that he probably doesn't even know the full title of this game without looking it up.
All right.
I mean, Persona 4 Arena Titus, I think it was. Yeah, it's like an infection.
Yeah, I'm gonna practice my Chie. I'm gonna practice my rushdown skills. At least Persona 4 has that like automatic combo thing. Of course, it's not the best combo you can do, but it is a combo. So maybe I can have a shot at that. I'll definitely play you. I'll see if I can get good.
It's pronounced Risei.
Risei. You can call her Reset.
From Nintendo, bro.
You can call her Reset Sama, you lowly piece of shit.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good to me. Nintendo Bro asks, happy Friday, Beef and Cheddar Boys. Mike, can you tell me what abbreviation is for the latest Pokemon remakes? You said it a couple times in Nintendogs, but I don't remember what it was.
It's BDSM. Jeff started that. That's not my thing. He started and I just kept it going because I thought it was funny.
From Dr. Suss, I've been really enjoying all the Steam Deck content, but all the settings and flexibility actually turned me off the device. The best part of gaming consoles is that you pop a game in and it just works. Having to optimize settings to get the best performance isn't something I care to do. That said, do you think the Steam Deck will help more console gamers get into PC games, or is it just a peripheral for people who already play mostly on PC? What's your response, Mike?
That's always been the trade-off, right? And that's why things like the Switch do exist. Even though, even they will continue to Switch exist even after something like the Steam Deck is out, and that's why consoles like Xbox One, PlayStation 5 still exist. Even though you could just plug your PC into your monitor, right? Why need those things? There's still going to be a lot of people who just want that plug and play aspect to it. But I do think he's right that this is going to bring some people over. Some people are going to kind of transition into this, and I think like the younger generation is more used to setting fumbling. Even in console games now, there's a lot more settings interaction than there used to be.
I'll say that I think that it's easy to get in your head about like, oh, there's all these options. It's still a PC. Most of the time I launch a game and I just start playing and it's fine. Because a lot of times the games, especially if a game knows it's on Steam Deck, it sets itself to 1280 by 800 and it sets itself to recommended settings, and it sets it to recommended settings for the Steam Deck. And it's trying to get 60 frames per second. I've just launched games and started playing, and almost every time it's fine.
A lot of the complicated stuff is the stuff we're doing that, not that you're not supposed to be doing it, but we're like stuff like getting Epic Game Store games to work on it, or getting these ROMs to work on it. Like that's not the on the box features, right?
Right, and it's like at first we thought we were gonna have to install Windows and get rid of all these awesome features to take advantage of that stuff, and it's like, oh, we don't even have to do that. So at least it's an option, and that's kind of where a lot of the stuff lies, where it's like, listen, it's an option if you want it. And I think that becomes more viable and important when you start talking about, I'm going to have a long commute, longer than this game might last if it were to go balls to the wall, the full resolution with high graphics settings and 60 frames per second. What can I do to like still be able to play this game and enjoy it and have it be very playable, but get something that's more reasonable. I'm like, how could I get 5 hours of battery life out of this? Well, then you go into the quick settings button, and it's very simple stuff. It's just right there. It's usually just a toggle or something, and you could cap it to 30 frames per second. You could say, oh, only use this much power. And that stuff's a little bit intimidating when you first look at it, but as soon as you start messing around with it, and it's so responsive and it just works, then to me, it just seems like, oh, this just trusts me. That's what it is. This thing trusts me in a way that a Nintendo Switch doesn't. And that's nice. I think it's powerful, but it's also something most people are going to be able to ignore, especially if you are staying in the realm of Steam verified games. If you start trying to stray out of that, you might encounter a few more issues, but even then you'll probably be fine. Okay, got a few more here. Danger Man Leet asks, several points late due to, Elden Ring consuming me. Star Wars Eclipse being 2027-2028 is hilarious at this point. Excuse me. I mean, even Elder Scrolls 6 teaser was a look, this game is happening, please be patient. Yeah, that seems like
right.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
That is the funny thing, is that at no point did they ever come out and say this game is really, really far off. They just said, we're announcing this game. Bethesda was pretty clear immediately after that reveal, and it was kind of clear from the reveal itself and just what we knew about their slate. Like, okay, this is a long way off.
And it was them very much being like, we're sorry, we're making Fallout 76. Don't worry, we're also doing these.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah, and it's like, that was before the game even came out and we knew it was a mistake. They were still like, we're sorry. Other point here, Elden Ring doing bonkers, got to sell 20 million, right? Maintaining this momentum will be difficult, but it seems pretty destined to get to 20 million, I think. That seems right.
Good. It's going to be a bigger hit than even Luigi's Mansion 3.
That just seems insane. What is bigger than Luigi's Mansion 3?
Right, imagine that. Open World Luigi's Mansion someday?
What's that?
Open World Luigi's Mansion someday?
Yeah, probably next. Yeah, why not? We saw the CEO of Next Level Games. He retired this week.
He did. I wonder. Yeah. Hopefully he wasn't the big Queen Bee making everything work there. Yeah,
I'm sure he's mentored people and brought them up, and he got his pay. He sold it to Nintendo, so good for him.
Yeah.
And then finally from Danger Man Lead, the NVIDIA leak, damn interesting. I do still fear Nintendo will skimp out even a 2024 potential hardware performance. Also changed some of my thoughts on RTX 40 series. Let's see, 4070, 47 Ti. I thought they tried to split up 4080 and 4090 series dies. Saying that they're both using the 81. Yeah, we'll dig into more of that once they actually start announcing it, because who knows for sure. But I think that the 40 series is probably going to be just fine. But yeah, Nintendo will still skimp on power a little bit, but the Switch 2 is going to be so much more powerful compared to the Switch that it's going to feel like a major leap.
Better.
Last two here. One from Low Rule. Do your families listen to the podcast outside of Mike's brothers? Do you ever feel weird about telling people about your podcast in real life? It rarely comes up. It's like, I find that, I write about games and I do some stuff. I'm never like, I do a podcast and you should listen to it. I don't bring it up too much, but I think my family sometimes listens, occasionally here and there. What about you, Mike? Your mom listening?
My parents don't listen to this. My parents listen to my Disney podcast. Imagine that, but no, they don't really understand this. And my nieces and nephews aren't allowed because I swear. And my one niece reprimanded me for this recently because she's mad she's not allowed to listen because I say bad words.
I mean, listen, if they really want to listen, maybe we can hold it back. I don't know.
Yeah, but look, people will start getting mad. I can feel it.
Yeah,
like,
people love our swearing. People are like, you guys are the best at swearing. Yeah. From Sosuke. Hey, Jeff. Wow, look how good these teeth look, Grubb. And Mike, did you really just fall to your death and made a tweet about it, Minotti? I didn't. I did not fall.
I'm pretty good at the platforming in Elden Ring.
I am too. I'm good at it. It doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
No, so I don't think it sucks. It has its own rules and limitations. It's not a Mario game. I think it makes sense for what it is. I don't think it sucks. It
sucks in the same way that combat in Skyrim sucks. It's like that.
Combat in Skyrim sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I deal with it. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's unfun. I have fun with it. I think it's fun. The combat in Skyrim's fun.
Yeah, you love unpolished stuff.
Yeah, and I think the platform.
You love games that are broken and shitty.
Yeah, I do, and I like this too, but it's still bad. Like, I can tell it's like, and I'm like, this is just straight up a platforming puzzle, I'm in. You guys really are doing this. This is your first game with Jump, and you're putting a platforming puzzle in it.
I love jumping puzzles in games that shouldn't have them. I love
Yes,
it when
I
MMOs
do
have
too.
jumping puzzles.
You're
That's
right.
great.
You're right.
I remember one of the Destiny 1's expansion at the end had this giant jumping puzzle that took me like an hour to do because like the game is not meant for that. And I loved it. So I'm just a sick freak.
I actually totally jumped through all that thing without any issues, and I was not supposed to be where I was at. And so I got to an enemy, and he just looked at me, and I died, basically. That's what happened. It's been 6 days, and I literally can't stop playing Elden Ring, and I've never really jived. Well, he says chived, but he means jived. He's never really onions and chived with the Souls games in the past, but man, this one really brought me out of a massive depression pit because this game is beautiful in almost every way. Can't wait for one of the Beef and Cheddar Boys to invade my world for some PvP action. I've not engaged with the PvP too much.
That's what I need to do. I need to invade Jeff's world as payback for that time he killed me in Deathloop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, although I got my revenge on somehow I don't know like correlate this with you, but I got my revenge on Blessing, which is pretty great.
Yes, you did bring it out in the end there against Blessing. That was a good series.
He was surprised. He didn't know that I was actually a pro gamer. He probably thought I was like another Dean and I was gonna be bad.
Embarrass yourself, yeah.
No.
Okay.
Dean.
Mike, that does it for the community questions. Did we get any other super chats?
Did get a few more. I got a few more here. Ariel Delgado asks, do you think Perfect Dark will have almost monthly chapters like Hitman 3 did? I'm kind of imagining multiple big cities. I feel like almost certainly not, right? Like, I mean, even Hitman stopped doing that after season 1 because it didn't really work. The whole episodic thing is kind of a dead trend.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like looking for the question because I wasn't listening when you were talking, and I'm struggling to find it. But yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, Mike said. Read it again for you, Jeff?
Sure, why not?
Do you think Perfect Dark will have almost monthly chapters like Hitman 3 did? I'm kind of imagining multiple big cities.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, well, you agree with me because I'm smart. Good. Wolf Assassin said, I'm starved for Xbox first-party games updates. Got a fix for me by any chance, Jeff?
Listen, just wait for E3. Wait for E3. Maybe GoldenEye will be coming soon. I don't know, but wait for E3. Get the E3 and then you'll be fine. It's just a few months away.
Showan asks, when does Xbox start dropping new games every quarter?
I mean, 2023, without a doubt, yeah.
Ariel Delgado again says, originally thought Steam Deck was 3 times more powerful than my current PC. Bad math. Checked the specs recently and it's slightly weaker, but has 4 more gigs of RAM. Is it still worth it? Well, your PC's not portable.
Yeah, so. Your PC, yeah. And even, or if it's a laptop, even then, it's still not as portable as the Steam Deck. I'll say that faster RAM, it's probably not just like more gigs of RAM, it's also probably faster RAM. It's like, it uses what was GPU RAM for a very long time, but for all of its system. That makes a big difference, especially running stuff like emulation. And also it's got a very modern CPU and GPU, equivalent to the stuff that is in the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. So, but it's also not going to run your games at 1080p, 120 frames per second or anything like that. This is for playing games on the go or around your house. And if you want to do that, then get it.
Wolf Assassin says, I forget to mention during my earlier question asked about first party games. Is there anything for Xbox Game Studios publishing either? Thanks.
They've been pretty busy. I think they're just moving along with the stuff that they've already mostly announced, like Contraband. I guess they haven't announced that IO game, the big dragon game that they're working on with IO. We'll have to wait and see. I think for the most part, though, it's stuff that we've heard rumored. They're always making deals, though. We'll see if something new is going to happen.
Brap, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Hey, Brap says, Jeff, Elden Ring is my game of the year 2022. Mike, big news of Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor. Yeah, that was big news. I wonder.
He bought Ring of Honor. I didn't know that.
Yes, he announced that on Dynamite. Ring of Honor was in pretty bad state. They're basically on a hiatus right now, so I bet he got him for a decent price. But he owns that brand in its video library, and I imagine he's going to turn it into kind of like AEW's NXT, and he's going to use that video library to bolster AEW's so that he can make a deal with one of these streaming services soon.
Yeah, makes sense.
That is all about.
Where'd Tony Khan get his money from?
His dad got his money from, I think, oil, and he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. S. Spencer says, with Babylon's fail, that's funny, is PG. God, Platinum Games acquisition. I don't know why, but the fact that he did an acronym for it, PG, it just destroyed my mind. I'm like, oh no, what are they actually called? I can't remember. Platinum Games.
Oh God, I would have done the same thing.
Platinum Games. Yeah, we even begged before, Jeff. We begged people not to use the acronyms because we are stupid, but they have no mercy. Is Platinum Games acquisition more certain? Any chance Nintendo buys them to cement Bayonetta since / Astral Chain future? So this is a weird thing I didn't realize. Sega still owns Bayonetta, that brand, even though they don't put their logos on anything Bayonetta anymore. So even if Nintendo bought Platinum Games, they wouldn't own Bayonetta. And I think Nintendo already owns Astral Chain. So I don't know what they would only buy Platinum Games because of the development talent. And so they wouldn't do it to cement Bayonetta and Astral Chain's future unless they're concerned about who's making it. So I don't know. I tell you what, Nintendo doesn't make very many sexy purchases like that.
Yeah, so that seems unlikely. That seems unlikely. Their last acquisition was that, what, $500,000 for SRD? This
right, for a company that may as well have been a Nintendo company already. Yes. Like their last sexy one was Next Level Games, which was their sexiest one in a long time, right? And that is, it seems like such a big no-brainer too.
Yep.
And that shocked us. So I just can't really see it happening. And again, like Nintendo's only going to do it when it is this big sure thing, like what happened with Luigi's Mansion and Next Level, not from the studio that just released Babylon's Fail, as you put it, right? I think if anything, Babylon's Fail makes them worse for an acquisition. People aren't looking for studios that are maybe at a cheap price because they just had a misstep. They're looking for surefire home runs.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's what got Next Level acquired, right? Made an 11 million seller, and that does it.
Yeah, that's why, if anything, I think, From Software, maybe that's going to get purchased because they just made their biggest game ever.
Right. And we know Kadokawa owns From, or at least has a major stake in it.
But someone could buy it from them.
But someone, for the right price, someone will make it work. And there are interested parties for sure in From.
Brap, once again, says, I have an Elden Ring farming problem. 26 hours in and level 76 character. 76.
Oh my God, you're like twice the level. Not twice, but close. And I'm like 35 hours in. Tell me where you farm.
Yeah,
Brap, tell me where you farm if you're like that efficient.
I wonder if he's doing that ball farming thing. Yeah, that's a lot of, man.
I
think I'll kill that dragon today. I think the ball farming, look it up, ball farming. Okay, some people have been doing it. I need to kill that sleeping dragon later today, though.
I'm not gonna kill the sleeping dragon, I've decided.
Well, yeah. Is it a thing where does the game judge you for doing that, or are you just judging yourself?
I don't know, and I'm never gonna ask or look it up. I am just gonna assume that From Software would do that. And that's gonna be my headcanon. And if it's true, it's true. If it's not true, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still true to me, damn it.
Well, now I'm afraid to kill this dragon. Damn it, Jeff! I was gonna get so many levels for nothing.
I mean, there's a place in the north of Caelid where if you kill these two birds, you get like 7,000 runes in like 10 seconds or something like that, and you can just do it. And it's right next to a point of grace, so you can do it over and over. Basically, the YouTube video was like, you can get 400,000 runes in an hour. So I could show you that instead.
I mean, it's for me. It's also just like I'm getting enough runes just playing the game.
I know, same. I know, but I'm really liking grinding in this game. The idea of like being overpowered is very enticing.
Yeah, fun to see numbers go up. All right, Jeff, that is it for Super Chat for now. Along with Elden Ring, I reviewed a couple of games this week. I only got one review actually published, but 2 racing games. I played Gran Turismo 7 and Chocobo GP. Jeff, which one would you like to hear about first?
Well, I read your Gran Turismo one. Tell me about Chocobo GP.
Easy for you to say. It's disappointing, I think.
Bummer.
Because at first it's like, oh, wow, this actually looks pretty good. And it's running really smoothly, like on portable Switch mode. Wow. And it just has this horrible flaw where the tracks are so tiny, Jeff. It's like, Baby Park in Mario Kart?
Yeah.
Imagine if every track was like the size of Baby Park. I mean, it's a bit of exaggeration.
Jesus.
But still 3 laps. It's still like all the items and everything. So it's like you get hit by an item, like, well, that's it. There's not enough time to like get back into it, even with the ridiculous rubber banding and everything else that you have. So it's like it's there's something there, and it is fun, and it is like, yeah, this is like Mario Kart, but it's like, man, yeah, Mario Kart sure is better, I guess. Huh? It's not like Sega Sonic transformed racing, that the amazing ones, like, wow, this is almost as good as Mario Kart. It's actually doing something different and interesting. This is just kind of Mario Kart, but worse.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm not too surprised, but still, that is a bit of a bummer. For some reason, I was looking forward to this game. I was like, it seems like a lot of fun. Like you can get a Fire Aga spell or whatever it is, and that's neat.
That's what it was called. Yeah, like it seemed like it should have been better. Again, I don't know why the tracks are so short, and I haven't played as much of it as I wanted to, and that's why I didn't write a review, because I was sick so much this week. So like maybe at the end you unlock tracks that are actually a real length. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Okay. Tell me about Gran Turismo 7.
Gran Turismo 7 is great. I like it a lot, and I like it because it's very relaxing, Jeff. It is. You know, I said this a bit about, and God, I don't even know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm immediately going to compare it to Forza Horizon right now, because I hate myself, apparently. But, you know, I said, like, one of the things I didn't like about Forza Horizon, and I don't even really like about that series, is its party vibe, right? And we talked about in this podcast a few times about being older, and maybe that's just part of it. But the whole, like, woo, yeah, let's party, woo, like thing, like, it's just not for me. And Gran Turismo 7, like, here are some old people talking about how they like cars. And
that sounds nice.
You go to this, literally a cafe, and this old person is going to tell you about cars and ask you to get some more cars. And they're just going to tell you about how cars are great. Look at some old photos of cars. Get into a race. It's like fast, but it's not dangerous or anything. You know,
you're just trying to walk out, and an old guy's just like,
Siri thought I was
did you say something? Did you say something?
No, Siri got mad. Siri thought that I was screaming at her when I was talking about how much I like relaxing with old people in their cars.
Well, yeah, I'm imagining this scenario where I'm like trying to walk out of this cafe and an old man's just like grunting at me and saying, "Hey, do you want to look at Polaroids of my cars? You want to look at Polaroids? I'm like, I'll take some Polaroids. You want to look at them?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll sit down with you and have this chat."
Yeah,
it sounds fantastic.
Cappuccino. He's going to tell you about hot hatches. I'm learning about hot hatches. You know, there's something, I've said before, I'm not a car person, but in Gran Turismo is so sincere about how much it loves car. It's infectious in a way, and it kind of gets me into it. And there is something about the aesthetic that I like. And again, there's like that car party, street racing, Fast and the Furious aesthetic. And then there's like that car museum sort of aesthetic. Like, oh, like I'm like at a test track in Epcot. Maybe it's just an Epcot thing with me, because of course it is. And that vibe just works a little bit better for me. And, you know, the progression is just nice, right? All the different ways you're progressing. Like at that cafe, you get these menu books, and it's like, go collect 3 Ferraris, and then come back, and we'll give you these points in this thing, and then we'll tell you to go win a race. And also, each time you collect a car, another number goes up, and isn't that nice? And you're also always earning this currency, so you can buy more cars and more upgrades and more things. You're constantly unlocking things. You're constantly seeing more cars and your new tracks. It's a big game. It's just very pleasant. It's something very nice to go through.
Oh no! Turbo Sean got him. But George Foreman, our good friend and buddy, who's always calling us.
I knew it. I said it. Why did I do this? And I knew he did not like me comparing.
Yep. He says you're being. Well, he didn't say you're being a pony. I'm saying on his behalf that you're being a pony now, Mike. You can't compare it to Horizon. You got to compare it to Motorsport.
Well, that was not the new Motorsport thing. Yeah, look, I'll do it. I don't know why, because I'm going to just.
You don't have to.
No, I'm going to. When the new Motorsport, I'm doing it now, Jeff. At this point, I accidentally.
You got him, George.
The guy who reviewed Forza Horizon 5, was that the last one, or was it 6? What were we on?
5, I think. Yes.
5, yes. So now I'm the racing game guy at GamesBeat. I've decided by the time my whole spiel with Forza Horizon 5 was I'm not a racing game guy. When Forza Motorsport 7 isn't just called Forza Motorsport again, whatever it is,
I think that's the rumor. I don't know.
Guy. I am the racing guy.
All right, here we go, everybody.
First sentence is going to be Forza Motorsport 7 is either better or worse. I'm going to just pick one or put it in. Then Gran Turismo 7. And we'll see what people think about that. And I'll tell you. And I'll tell you what.
Look what you've done now, George. Look what you've done.
And you're going to have to live with the consequences, George. You're going to have to just be okay with whatever I say.
I'm glad you like both games so far.
I bet somehow I'll still have people telling me, well, you can't really compare the two.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You know what though? If you were to like be like, well, this one's the real racing sim, I would get angry. Be like, neither of them are the real racing sim. They're still kind of arcadey compared to iRacing, which is where the real big boys play.
I would rather just be playing Ridge Racer, really, but they don't make those no more.
That runs really good on the Steam Deck, by the way.
I'm gonna get that Ridge Racer 2 for the PSP on the Steam Deck, baby.
Yes, PSP runs really well on there too.
All right.
Are we good? Are we through everything?
That's why George got. I'm just catching up on George Foreman.
He got timed out. He did not get banned.
George. You can't talk back to the mods.
Yeah, don't talk. Yeah, listen, the mods have full reign here. We give them, they get to decide what is right and what is wrong.
George, you've been so good. You've been on such good behavior lately too. It's okay.
Okay, so are you going to like keep playing Gran Turismo 7?
Yeah.
If I were to get Gran Turismo 7, if we were to start a community game night where we like, hey, let's do a race every couple of weeks or whatever.
Fun.
Okay, that does sound like fun. I want to get this game. It sounds cool.
I think you'd like it. It's very pleasant. It has it's very good with its not to get into this fun topic, but a lot of difficulty adjustments and menus and things you can turn on and off to make the game easier and more accessible for you, which is nice.
Yeah, I still feel like that conversation hasn't been as loud with Elden Ring as I thought it was going to be, and I think it's well and then after playing it, I'm like, it makes sense because it's just kind of like just go in a different direction, and that like, there might be something out there that you can handle.
Right.
Okay, Mike. I think we're all set to get out of here. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think that's going to do it.
Okay. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna hit the button, and I'm gonna ask Mike, where can people find you on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at Tokoto, TOLKOTO. Be sure to check out 90s Disney, my 90s Disney podcast at 90sdisney.com. Our Ellen's Energy Adventure episode is up, so if you want to learn about the ride about energy starring Ellen DeGeneres that Disney built in Epcot, you can do that. And we'll be back on Tuesday with Last of the Nintendogs.
I'm laughing at the Turbo Sean. It's like, what are you going to do? Shoot me? And then, of course, the shot man is quoted there. I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitch. We'll be streaming some more. I kind of want to do a bad movie night. We watched that Dragon Ball thing as part of that thing. Maybe we should find another.
We got to watch House of the Dead.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Still, is undisputed masterpiece. By far the best video game. It's the only video game movie that's so bad it approaches like the room level.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Apparently Dan Reicher's watching that Donkey Kong movie where all those gifts come from. So I'm like, I gotta check out that.
That's a cartoon show.
It's a cartoon show? Okay, well, he had a big VHS thing that was the size of like his head, so.
Well, they put the pilot on a VHS probably.
Okay, well, I mean, he said it was feature length, so.
It's probably a feature length.
It's probably like
4 episodes.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was talking to an expert. I'm sorry.
I don't mean to sound so aggressive. I'm just telling you how it works.
Jesus.
I just know more than you, and I want to scream about it.
Okay. All right. Put me in my place, why don't you?
Splatoon 2 game night
tonight. Yes, Splatoon 2, everybody. Discord. I got it ready to go. I was playing the other day. It's a good game. All right, Mike.
I gotta install it.
Do you mean to come get that diaper? Okay, you didn't poo because you just pooed right before the show, so it can't be poo.
Go handle that shit, Jeff.
Yeah. Take it off. Go run, bare ass baboon. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll be back next week. Yeah. Well, yeah. She's up. There's a fence. She can't get over in front of the camera. We're good. I am gonna be streaming this weekend though. I think so. Tune in. Twitch.tv/Jeff Grubb. All right, everybody. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Do